I see a strong port as helping the community, and a strong community in a great, beautiful neighborhood and tourist destination helps the port as well. So we'll bring these two things together, and I think people will look back and say this was the moment when we finally got it right.
Hi, this is Carretero Family.
We are from East Los Angeles, Boyle Heights. You're watching Channel 35, our city, our channel.
The roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Johnson, Sobroff, Figueroa Villa, Kim, and McLean Hill are present, and we have a quorum. Number 1 on the agenda, election of officers. Are there any nominations for the office of president?
I'd like to nominate Matt Johnson for the office of President of the Board of Police Commissioners.
Second. Are there any other nominations? Okay, let's put the motion to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? The ayes have it. This item passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. President. Commissioner Johnson. I will now turn the meeting over to Commissioner Johnson for the nomination of Vice President.
Are there any nominations for Vice President? I'd like to nominate Mr. Sobroff.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Do we have any comments on this matter?
We have 2 comment cards, sir. We have Michael Novick and Wayne Spindler.
As par for the course of the undemocratic activity of this commission in this city, that you didn't allow for public comment before you just elected your president. Matt Johnson has discredited the commission and himself by his lack of responsiveness to the community over the course of his service this year. And I think it's shameful that you're just reelecting him without even any discussion among yourselves, let alone listening to what the public thinks about it. That's all I have to say about that question.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Told you this was going to happen if you didn't speak up, Cynthia. See, this is the way they play. They're fast. You're real slow right now. You got to step in. You got to step in and nominate yourself for president at that time. You would have got it. Who's going to say no? Nobody's going to say no to you. You could be the president right now and start the process. That's what I said. But you sat back like the other 3 ladies, the other 2 ladies there, and you letting the 2 alpha males run the show. That's what I'm telling you. You got 3 women as a majority and 2 guys. You gonna be like that? What happens if Hillary becomes president? Has got to take some action. She gonna sit there and wait for some guy to do it? You women got to take this goddamn thing over. It's a mess. It's a catastrophe. All you had to do was say, I nominate myself for president. But you let those 2 guys, and they're quick, run right over it. So right away, you're 0 for 2. You're starting out bad. You see, this is the 2nd week already. See what I mean? Now, really, I mean, there's a lot of people that are glad that Steve stayed as VP because we love it when Matt walks out. Because I just love to play those videos for my, I have guests come over at a party, and I play that video where Steve goes, you're out, you're out, you're out, you're out, you're out, you're out. I mean, it's great. I mean, the man is a walking entertainment zone. Should have his own show on television. I kick people out of meetings in violation of the Brown Act. It should be a weekly series. And then you got Matt. Matt is Matt, but you missed your chance. Step in the chair and take over. Now you're going to sit there and let them mow all over the rest of us. Shame on you. That's not what you're here for. Come on.
There are no other comment cards on this item. We're on item number 2, consent agenda items. We have 1 card for each item.
Okay, before we go to the consent items, I want to officially welcome Commissioner McLean Hill to the Board of Police Commissioners. I know this is her 2nd meeting, but unfortunately I was not able to be here last week to welcome her myself. As I think everybody knows by now, Commissioner McLean Hill has deep engagement in the city of Los Angeles. She's been involved in many facets of the community. She cares deeply about this city, and we're very lucky and fortunate to have her as a part of this body, and welcome. Thank you for being here. Chief Moore, I had an opportunity to read the California State Auditor's audit on the Cal Gang system. I would like to request a report to the Commission in 45 days, including a copy of the Department's response to that audit and the status of each of the areas that are noted in the Department's response.
Commissioner, absolutely. We'll have that report ready for you.
Okay,
the
thank
Department's
you.
already working in regards to that audit.
Excellent, thank you. You said we have 2 comments on the consent item?
We have 2 comments on A and 1 comment on B.
So let's call all of the comments first, and then we'll vote on the agenda items after we hear all 3 comments.
Okay. For 2A, we have David Sanchez and Ebony Fay. This is relative to the donation of $1,100.77.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to just briefly say that while you're approving these funds for these booster seats and all of these things, something that really, just really strikes me is how this is a bit of a preposterous type of exercise. You're not really interacting with us. You're flying high above us. And you're measuring yourselves by yourselves and comparing yourselves to yourselves and finding that, like, what you want to do and what you want to proceed with is okay. It's beautiful that you want to buy booster seats. What's shameful is that you shot a child last week. And I'm saying that you shot the child because the blood is on your hands, because you are sanctioning the actions of people who are then going out into the streets and then killing children. Jesse Romero deserved to live. These booster seats mean nothing if these kids don't make it through middle school because of the policies that you sanction and because of this air that you have. I completely, I just really think that it's shameful that people are sitting here as if you're actually doing things that are good for this city. You're actually not. You're actually not. And this is it's really preposterous that we have people in here who have lost loved ones, and you're voting on booster seats and holiday parties and breakfasts and things like that, and you're electing yourselves, and you're not really answering to the people. You don't consider yourselves accountable. But don't worry, you will be held accountable. All of you. Good morning, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning, and thank you for your comments.
David Sanchez.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dr. David Sanchez. I'm representing the Brown Berets and also chairman of the Chicano Roundtable. I know we're concerned about booster seats, but there's other things that are happening within our society or within Los Angeles. And I'm here to protest the murder of Jesse Romero, 14 years old. Who was killed last Tuesday.
This item is regarding the booster seats. If you would like to make a comment on Mr. Romero.
I think we have to begin to look at, the problems that are happening besides booster seats. I think the murder of our children in East Los Angeles.
I agree.
And the murder
but the appropriate time to make this comment would be on the chief's report. You can make this comment on the chief's report, or you can make a general comment. But this item in particular is regarding booster seats.
Who's talking to me? I can't see. Who's?
I am.
Oh, okay. I think that we have, and in you being part of the white establishment, for too long have been controlling our communities and killing our children, and we need to begin to focus on some of the problems
please have a seat.
that are killing our children.
Sir, please have a seat.
I think we need to protest. Okay. Okay, I'll talk at the next one. All right.
That is the last comment card for A. We have a comment card from Mr. Spindler for 2B. And this is relative to the donation of a down payment for a holiday party valued at $14,000.
Okay, the pig will address. This is a...
Thank you. Now, $14,000 for what? What holiday party? What holidays are left? It's already August. Is it the 4th of July? Is it Easter? Is it the the run to Baker to Las Vegas, where all the cops ride motorcycles to meet the prostitutes across the state border?
Maybe.
So what is it? Southeast area. How many of you have recently been there? Raise your hands. See, nobody's been to the Southeast area. Where is it? Does it even exist? Or is it one of these MSRA's, Metropolitan Statistic Area? See, I've been Googling. Pigs sit around a lot in the mud, and now they Google. So when I Googled an MSA, I found out that there's redevelopment zones in the MSA. That's like a rap song. NWA, NSA of the Southeast. Fool. So, what is this $14,000 for? Which holiday? Is it for Passover? Ding, ding, ding. That's right. So we're going to have a Passover celebration, and we're going to have a parade. Grand Marshal, I nominate Steve Soboroff. Grand Marshal. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Please call the roll. Figueroa. Aye. Kim. Aye. Johnson.
Yes.
What is it? McLean? Aye. Okay, Soboroff.
I'm abstaining.
It passes unanimously. Congratulations.
We have no other comment cards on A and B, sir.
Do I have a motion to approve items 2A and B?
So moved.
Do I have all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Item number 3, report of the Chief of Police, Chief Moore.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, Inspector General, Mr. T. Fank. On behalf of Chief Beck, who is on a much-deserved vacation, I'm here today. To make some to give me the Chief's report.
Can we please stop disrupting, please?
I want to frame my remarks in a series of, first of all, to talk about significant instances in which I'll provide a statement in a moment here regarding the officer-involved shooting involving Jesse Romero, and then I'm going to follow that with information regarding the recent Rams game, as well as this morning's event that began in Inglewood and is still an investigation that's ongoing. I'll follow that with the traditional report on crime, as well as our recruitment and personnel strength. First, let me provide some brief remarks regarding the officer-involved shooting from last Tuesday in Hollenbeck area, a tragic event in which officers were shot at, resulting in the loss of life.
I can't hear.
Excuse me, Chief. I know that there are a lot of emotions around this. It's a tragic event whenever a child is killed. But we need to have order in this room. Let the chief give his report. Let him make his remarks. If you have a comment, please submit a card. We will accommodate everyone who has a comment. You have an opportunity to comment after the chief's report. You'll have an opportunity to comment during general public comment, and you will all have an opportunity to be heard. But we cannot have constant disruptions of the speakers. And if you disrupt, you're disrupting the speaker right now. And if you disrupt, you're going to be asked to leave. And I don't want to do that. I want to give everybody an opportunity to be heard within the framework of the rules of the commission. So, Chief Moore, can you please continue?
Sure. Again, let me reiterate, while the loss of life is always tragic, it's particularly so when the loss involves a youth. This officer-involved shooting involved 2 uniformed gang enforcement officers investigating a radio call of vandalism suspects in the area of Chicago Street and Cesar Chavez Avenue. The department held a press conference on Wednesday morning to provide the preliminary details of the investigation. This morning, my update will be limited as there remains a great deal more work to be done in this investigation, seeking additional witnesses, forensic review of the evidence gathered, including video, the loaded firearm recovered at the scene, etc. What new information I can provide is that the department has identified a third individual, another young male Hispanic, who was with Jesse Romero and the other young man at the rear of the apartment complex when the officers first came upon the group. That third individual has been interviewed, and the investigation thus far has determined that this young man also fled when initially confronted by the officers, as did Jesse Romero. This third individual went in a different direction as the officers chased Mr. Romero onto Cesar Chavez. As the officers chased Mr. Romero, they broadcasted on their radio that they were chasing an individual with a gun. The foot chase continued, and Mr. Romero ran onto Breed Street from Cesar Chavez. According to a witness who saw the subject who saw Mr. Romero running from the officers, the witnesses observed Mr. Romero on Breed Street shoot a handgun in the direction of the pursuing officer. Additional witnesses have been identified and interviewed by investigators, including witnesses who report seeing Mr. Romero throw the handgun over the fence and hearing gunfire. Both officers were approaching the corner of Breed Street and Cesar Chavez. As they heard a gunshot. As the officers rounded the corner, one of the officers became involved in an officer-involved shooting. Mr. Romero was struck by gunfire and was pronounced at the scene. A loaded handgun, was recovered at the scene. A picture was taken at the scene, which was provided last Wednesday at the press conference. The firearm is being processed for whatever additional information it can provide to this investigation. Both gang enforcement officers were equipped with body-worn videos, which was activated during this incident. That video is being analyzed and will be an important part of this investigation and provided to the Use of Force Review Board, the Chief of Police, and the Board of Police Commissioners as part of the entire officer-involved shooting investigation. As was reported last week, this year our officers have been shot at more than 4 times, and 2 officers have been shot by suspects, including one in the Hollenbeck community itself. The tragedy of this event cannot be overstated. In a community where violent crime continues to rise, particularly gang crime, this event underscores the need for youth programs and continued outreach which provides opportunities and alternatives for the youth of our communities. As stated last week, we will continue to work with the entire community as well as our gang reduction youth development resources, our local churches, and our schools to improve the safety of our communities. As with all officer-involved shootings, the District Attorney's Office and the Office of Inspector General were at the scene on the night of this incident and will continue to monitor this investigation closely as it progresses. Mr. President, I, at this point, would like to move into the second area of significant events that I'd like to discuss, and that is this morning's incident, which began at began last night, late last night, early this morning, in the city of Inglewood, in which at this point the investigation has identified at least 2 individuals that were armed with assault-type firearms, long rifles, with magazines that, upon review, appear to be prohibited items. Those individuals there, which were their actions were captured by local media and broadcasted, was investigated by the Inglewood Police Department. And at a point last night, those 2 individuals entered a car and left the scene and entered the city of Los Angeles, where they drove to a location in the North San Fernando Valley. The department, which initially assisted Inglewood Police Department as they were attempting to understand the motives and actions of these 2 individuals, continue to monitor those individuals as they left the city of Inglewood and entered the city of Los Angeles. Later this morning, later this morning, those two individuals entered a vehicle and left that apartment complex and proceeded northbound and were eventually stopped in the city of Sylmar, state of Los Angeles, a suburb of Los Angeles. An investigative stop was conducted, and both individuals were taken into custody. The department is continuing to investigate, working in concert with the city of Inglewood Police Department to understand the nature of the motives of these 2 individuals. There's information the department is gathering that includes social media posts and statements made at the scene and in Inglewood, as well as 4 radio calls that occurred in Los Angeles in the North San Fernando Valley, where these individuals' remarks were attributed to them that they were at a local convenient market armed with long rifles and waiting for the police to arrive so that they would shoot the police. The department will conduct our investigation and will continue this into the morning and late afternoon to determine again what the motives of these were. I can only say that it is fortunate, and I'm thankful, as every member of the Los Angeles Police Department, that these 2 individuals were taken into custody without a significant incident, and that no loss of life occurred over this entire ordeal. We are concerned about the possession of these weapons and some of the remarks that were made as to a threat on officers' lives and the potential violence that could have erupted from this incident, unfortunately did not. On a lighter note, let me move over to the Rams game, a practice game this past Saturday night. This is an important event, first time in more than 22 years that a professional football team has come to this city. And again, in reflection of the two earlier remarks, I just want to briefly say that the city of Los Angeles, I think, was a great host. We welcome this event to the city, and we look forward to working with the Rams organization, the Coliseum detail, and all of Angelinos to ensure that those games here for the next 3 seasons are enjoyable and that they bring the beauty of this great city to light. And we'll continue to work again to see that those games are conducted without incident. I will report that this is an adjustment period for people in those communities in South Los Angeles, particularly the traffic circumstances of 90-plus thousand people going in and out of that stadium is something the department, working with the Department of Transportation, CHP, and others, will continue to work on so that we can have the least amount of impact possible in hosting these games going forward. Moving over to our crime, this week is an interesting paradox. Last week I reported on the department's achievement of reducing crime. Last week we had dropped our violent crime to 14.5% as a rate of increase, which was, while we weren't satisfied with it, we were encouraged because it had been a significant drop in the percentage of increase in a 4-week period. This week, I'm happy to report that the violent crime rate dropped further to another half percentage point to 14%. However, in that reduction, and while we saw much fewer aggravated assaults and robberies, we saw the severity of that violence increase substantially. This past weekend alone, we had 6 homicides, and which gang violence continued to play a significant role in the results of and the loss of life. So as the department is encouraged by the most recent trends in the last 4 to 6 weeks of a pullback in the overall increase in violent crime, we are concerned about the prevalence and the continuation of gang violence and the number of shootings. Year to date, we have 6 additional victims shot this year to date than last year. So our efforts with the establishment of our CSOC, the restriction of transfers out of the Office of Operations so that our geographic area operations remain as strong as possible, our recruitment efforts to fill the full 10,000 authorized strength of this organization, those initiatives will continue, as will the deployment of additional officers on an overtime basis to ensure that our streets have a presence so that we can make the important safety of our community, demonstrate that it remains our top priority. Overall, Part 1 crime this year, year-to-date, has remained at a 6% increase. So that is not a change from last week. But again, we will, as we look forward in projecting for you.
Excuse me, sir. That's about the 4th time you've interrupted. So can you please keep your comments until and submit a card at the end? Or if you interrupt again, I'm going to ask you to leave. Thank you.
In just closing on the crime report, these next 4 to 6 weeks, we know from last year, saw a substantial increase in violence at a rate that has resulted in the department taking the actions we have. So it'll be critical that we remain committed to our strategies and attempt to find new strategies or new efforts to ensure that the loss of life is minimized however possible. I want to move over to our traffic information. As I reported last week, the department continues to see significant challenges in regards to reducing the number of persons injured, seriously injured or killed as a result of a hit and run or motor vehicle versus pedestrian. Both those categories have seen an increase this year. Hit and runs involving a serious injury or death have increased more than 20% this year, and motor vehicle versus pedestrians have increased just over 18%. So those are 2 areas, as I said last week, and I'll reiterate, we are asking for the public's help to slow down, to honor the rules of the road, and to respect the rights of all involved, including particularly pedestrians and bicyclists. We remain year-to-date with 69 individuals that have either were killed or incurred a significant major injury as a result of a bicycle collision. And that is an improvement for last year, but again, it remains a challenge in the city that our traffic circumstances still remain too prevalent as too frequent an occurrence. And one that I believe, as an individual, as I know many of my colleagues do in law enforcement, is an area that this city should see much better results. Because many times these are entirely just based on the discipline of the driver or the pedestrian or bicyclist. Let me move over finally to our personnel strength and recruitment. Today we are at 9,827 sworn personnel on payroll. That is 178 individuals that are under our authorized strength. So our importance of our recruitment effort continues. We just started 30 additional recruits this last a week ago yesterday. So we want to see those recruit flows increase. We are on a path this year to hire some 600 Los Angeles police officers. That's an important objective, and I know one that Assistant Chief Villegas and his team is working closely with the Personnel Department and the Mayor's team and their leadership to achieve. Our sworn staffing is complemented by 2,742 civilian personnel. That is a slight improvement from just 3 or 4 months ago, but we are still 534 civilians short from our authorized strength, and those vacancies are having a compounding impact on our deployment levels. So our civilian hiring this year is going to remain a critical endeavor so we can ensure that our officers that we do have on our payroll are working and patrol in the streets. Finally, we are fortunate to have 410 reserve officers. These officers are twice a citizen, and they provide their energy and their work without cost to the city and the citizens. 284 civilian volunteers and 57 chaplains. And finally, our Cadet Corps now numbers at 7,861, one of our most successful and I believe best community engagement tools. And, Mr. President, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for Chief?
I do. I have a question and a comment. Chief, in our public school system in Los Angeles, the charter schools and the public schools, there are a number of gang intervention programs operated in the schools and by the schools. I mean, I don't consider cadets one of those, although cadets probably is one of the most important with the numbers have served. What's the role, or do we play a role as part of community policing in helping and engaging with those gang intervention programs at schools? I noticed that there were officers that had been to Hollenbeck and worked on that specific program.
So in answer to your question, Commissioner, we have a number of relationships with the Los Angeles Unified School District, which today I believe was their opening of their school. 640,000 young men and women began school today, and we work with the Los Angeles Unified School District both in a magnet school program. These are schools that have police officers that are assigned and work in concert with educators to assist and develop young men and women in their leadership and their roles as leaders in our society. We also work with the Los Angeles Unified School District and school resource officers. We call them juvenile officers, and they make a presence on those campuses. They interact with victims. Some of these young children suffer from abuse at home or in their neighborhoods, and these are relationships that are formed via those uniformed juvenile officers, and then the Cadet Corps that you previously mentioned, and then lastly, we believe that it's a task of every Los Angeles police officer to engage in school with safe passages, where they provide paths for communities of children going to and from school, that they afford them a safe passage so they're not impacted by gang violence or by a community that is threatening to their safety. So there's a number of different aspects. And then finally, Chief of Police Steve Zipperman has the LA Unified has it's a proprietary police department, and we work continually with them. Each of my bureau chiefs and their geographic areas and leading up to today's opening have met with school administrators and principals to ensure that close communication and coordination for the safety of these children, both going to and from school, as well as their activities at school.
Okay, ma'am.
I'm not finished yet.
You're interrupting. If you have a comment, submit a card. That is your last warning. Thank you.
Chief, as the department audits a whole bunch of programs that we do and trying to make them better. And one of the things that concerns me has nothing to do with the department, but it's a statement to these gang intervention programs. Are they looking inward enough to see who they're missing, who's slipping through the cracks? Are they recruiting as much as they can? These kids are underserved. They need programs. They need to double down, and it's something that we're always looking to do better, and I'm sure they are as well. But why are some kids slipping through the cracks? And
so if I could just briefly discuss, and I think the department, it may benefit the commission for the department to present on this subject.
Yeah, this isn't on the agenda, so we should probably, why don't we agendize this topic for a future meeting?
And when we do, I just want to add one thing to it. I believe that the funding for these programs that is largely by foundations and individuals needs to be doubled down by those foundations and individuals. Thanks.
Thank you. So we'll agendize this for a future meeting.
Good.
Any other commissioner questions or comments on the chief's report? No. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, sir. We have 20 comment cards.
Okay. Please call the comment cards, please.
Okay. The first four: David Sanchez, George Gonzalez, Antonio Rodriguez, and Carlos Montes.
Okay, I'd like to get back to about Jesse Romero, 14-year-old. I mean, you didn't have to kill him. I mean, you could have shot him in the leg or warned him, but you didn't have to kill that young man. You didn't have to take his life, and that's what we're concerned about. We're concerned about this department taking lives of people in our community. I'm particularly concerned because Jesse was a Mexican-American, a Chicano, and you took his life. Now he cannot live. He cannot go to school this week as school begins. He cannot have a family. He cannot live. And continuously, the department continues to mistreat many of our people. The entire country is in outrage over the police department and the police state that you have performed. And people are tired. The people are tired of being mistreated. People are tired of being treated like slaves by your department. People are tired of being slaves by overall white society and the white establishment. And we're saying we've had enough. Ya basta. We cannot take this kind of treatment anymore. And this is why people are getting very, very angry. And this is why people are beginning to organize their communities to fight for justice, to fight for freedom, to fight for liberty. And you have taken this young man's liberty away. And you reward those who do the killing by your group of Medal of Valor people. I saw a picture of your Medal of Valor officers, and they all look sick. And they all look sick because they killed somebody. And we need to stop the killing. I'm here because perhaps we can save a life. Perhaps you can save one more life and stop the LAPD from killing innocent children and innocent people in our community. I mean, there are alternatives. Find other ways, but do not kill. I mean, you could put a blank bullet in the chamber, and that would give the gun more alternatives. It could be a warning shot. It could be against a mistake, but you could put a blank bullet in the chamber in case the gun does go off. Please find alternatives. Save lives. Stop killing our people.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Good morning. My name is Jorge Gonzalez, and I'm also here to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in this room. I'm one of the attorneys representing the mother, Teresa Dominguez, of the young man, Jesse Romero. Deputy Moore, with all due respect, the vernacular that you use in describing this shooting indicates the cynicism of the LAPD. When you don't say, what you say is that an officer-involved shooting ensued. What you really should say is that an officer killed a 14-year-old boy. Now, the LAPD has been very aggressive in promoting the version of the story that the officers were shot at. In fact, it appears in the LA Times that the officer was actually quoted in addition to a witness. But it's very clear also that there's another witness that he threw the gun and that this gun was thrown through a fence. And there have been pictures that have been seen that this gun was actually on the other side of the fence. Democracy Now! Has some videotape footage of that. So clearly, what happens here is what everybody complains about all the time, that the LAPD continues to try to justify the shooting. So we're saying, okay, you got two different versions of the shooting. You're already telling people what the officer is saying, so there's no such protection here for the individual officer's privacy. Release the videotape footage from the body cameras. That's the tiebreaker. That's what will let the public know, because otherwise you're hoodwinking the public into believing that an officer was shot at and he was justified in shooting back to preserve his life. We understand that notion, but we don't know the truth. This is a truth-seeking process. We don't want to suggest that model right there, to protect and serve, is substituted with the one that's in the other building that says, we protect our own.
Antonio Rodriguez.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission. My name is Antonio Rodriguez. I'm also an attorney who is representing Mrs. Dominguez, the mother of Jesse Romero. Our community is hurting. This is a 14-year-old boy whose life was taken just a few days before his 15th birthday. Just a few days. And it is hurting so much that it is calling for you to bring justice as soon as possible, to ensure justice by releasing the tapes, by releasing every bit of evidence so that the community can independently judge what is right and what is not right. What you have done up to now, your department has done, is promote its version, the version of the facts that best fits the officer's well-being and justifying what may be an unjustifiable act. So our community is hurting, and there has to be some closure for the mother, but you're not going to provide that closure for the mother as long as you continue supporting the officer and, in effect, giving credence to a version who ultimately may not be justified by the evidence, may not be justified and found to be right by the videotapes that exist in this case. Remember, there is more than one version, and both of those versions are actually in one of the first articles that the LA Times published. One that he was essentially armed and shot at the officers, the other one that he was throwing the gun away and then got shot. So to bring closure, release the tapes. To bring closure, do something to ensure that there's some closure to the mother.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Carlos Montes, followed by Lisa Simpson, Jasmine Abdullah.
Yes, good morning. My name is Carlos Montes. I'm a member of Centro CSO Community Service Organization based in Boyle Heights. I'm also past president of the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council, but I'm not representing that role here today. I graduated from Hollenbach Middle School and attended Roosevelt High School, and I live in Boyle Heights. I am here to condemn the unjustified brutal killing of Jesse Romero on August the 9th, a 14-year-old who attended Mendez High School. I'm also here to call on Chief Beck and the LAPD to stop lying and killing our young men. I'm here to also demand that you stop lying about the killing of Jesse Romero specifically. The LAPD is only giving a version that is beneficial to the department, as echoed by the two attorneys. There are witnesses, but also more important, there are photos and videos, and the one posted on Democracy Now! On August the 11th. Now that video focuses on the brutal manner in which Jesse was body slammed on his face and handcuffed, but also there is a picture of a gun on the other side of the metal fence that is clearly outlined as a revolver with a long barrel and the butt of the gun. It shows a gun on the other side of the fence. That is another version that the police have not discussed. You almost kind of alluded to it today about the gun was thrown. Are you saying the gun was thrown after he shot or before he shot? You know, but tell us where the gun was found. There's a picture on Democracy Now! That shows clearly the gun on the other side of the metal fence. To me, this shows that Jesse was unarmed when the police confronted him. Release the video, stop the killing. Stop the killing. In Boyle Heights, we've had over 5 killings. Stop killing our youth. We get the impression that the police are gun trigger happy, and that the first thing they're going to do is shoot and try to figure out what happened later on. That is totally causing anger, dismay. Our young men, our people, you know, are not going to take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Lisa Simpson.
Now, as I sit here and look at this panel, I notice nobody told me good morning. You know why? Keep it. Save it for yourself. All y'all are guilty. All y'all are liars. I came here last week for some questions and some answers to the murder of my 18-year-old son. You guys haven't told me nothing. You have me sit here and lie to me, and you guys keep throwing me all these cards. What do they mean? What do these cards mean? Because I still haven't heard nothing about my son. You want to sit up here more and talk about your police in the community? Police in the community killed my son. And you haven't gave me an answer yet. You lied to me last week. You had somebody take me outside like I was an uneducated black woman and I was going to go for your stupidity. It's not going to happen, sir. You, Mr. Steve, you had them take me outside too. I've been waiting for 24 hours for 3 weeks for one of y'all to call me and tell me one thing about my child. You haven't. But you got Chief Beck on vacation. Oh, he can go to New York Times and tell them that they killed my son to save the people of the Nickerson Gardens. Well, what about the other 2 people y'all killed that same night? The 12-year-old little Hispanic guy. The other Hispanic male that y'all killed that y'all brushed under the carpet. Y'all not saying nothing about that. I want the cop prosecuted. I want him off the streets without pay. It's no denomination of $1 that y'all can give me to give me my son back. Y'all took a precious part of my life away from me. And ain't none of y'all on this panel, man or woman, enough to talk to me. Y'all can talk to all these reporters, all these newspapers. Who gonna talk to his mama? When y'all gonna tell me who killed my son and why was my son killed? Can anybody answer that question while all y'all sit up there baffled with a look on your face like you don't know what the hell I'm talking about? You wasn't here, sir, last week, so you get a pass. But you here this week, and I ain't going no goddamn where until I get some answers today. You can't take me outside and give me another goddamn card. I got 15 cards from y'all and have nobody called my number yet. So what you got to say about that, Chief Roy?
I will say that we have made efforts to talk with you.
So you're gonna keep lying, right?
And so clearly there's a difference.
Do you want to see my phone?
Difference of opinion here. So I'll just say that from the department, because you make.
Do you want to see my phone? I've never had not one phone call from you guys. I don't have no reason to lie to you. I live way in Apple Valley, California. I ain't got time to be coming down here playing your games. Y'all killed my son, and you haven't told me nothing. And as a parent, I deserve to know. I deserve to know. When am I going to find out anything? I had struggled to bury my child because of the shit y'all put in the paper about my son that y'all don't even know. That's what y'all do a lot. Y'all like to stereotype and like to judge people.
Ma'am.
Don't none of y'all look like Jesus to me. So where the judging coming from? And my name ain't ma'am. My name is Lisa Simpson.
Ms. Simpson, I'm very sorry for your
Are
pain.
you?
I am.
For real?
Very sorry.
I don't believe that, sir. It's been 3 weeks, and it's so cold. You know what part that hurts me the most? Because you got this liar sitting right here on your panel. All these people that was here last week. Oh, take her outside. Get her number. Somebody's going to call you in 24 hours. Sir, I can show you my phone. I ain't got no reason to lie to you. Nobody have called my phone yet.
I will make sure that someone contacts you today.
I'm tired of the make sure somebody call. Somebody needs to talk to me today because I'm not leaving. Y'all got to take me to jail. That part. And I'm so serious because it's sad. Now you see what I'm talking about, Cynthia? Do you see what I'm talking about, sister? They push us under the rug, put us down, don't want to hear nothing that we got to say, and then they cowards. They won't even respond. But more can sit there and lie and say all these people called me. I don't got no problem with showing you my phone log. I haven't got a call, not a private call, not a 213 call, nothing. You don't understand? Because I can't get my son back. Can you give me another son?
You're right. You're right. I don't understand.
Am I right?
I cannot. I can try and empathize. I can try and sympathize, but I have not lost a child. I do not know
that part.
I cannot possibly comprehend the pain that you feel.
Okay, so why I can't find out who the officer is?
What I can tell you is that I will make sure, as president of this commission, that someone will speak to you today.
Sir, I heard that 3 weeks ago, 24 hours ago.
I understand you did not hear it from me.
Why you can't talk to me now? Because I'm here. I'm not going nowhere.
I understand that. We have a meeting. We have a long.
And your meeting don't mean nothing to me, homie. Y'all sitting up here trying to give people awards for killing kids.
Commissioner,
I don't rock like that.
We can have someone from my office right now speak with her.
Okay, let's do that.
Right now. Yeah, because I've been lied to for 3 weeks. What you got to say, Steve?
So right now, if you see the gentleman who stood up, that is the supervisor of my office.
I know, but you got your finger in my face. I know, but I don't need you to put your finger in my face, though.
Hold on 1 second, ma'am. Ma'am,
I'll tell her.
You see the gentleman standing up in the corner there?
Raise your hand, Mr.
He's
Sibley.
the head of.
But he was here last week and nobody didn't talk to me. I mean, what kind of baseball do y'all play?
He will go speak to you right now.
He's here right now.
Come on now. I need to know something. Y'all killed my son, homie. Do you understand that? Do you really understand that?
He is right
Do you
here.
understand what I'm saying?
He will take you to
y'all
the room
killed my son. And y'all not telling me nothing. That's not fair to me as a parent.
You're asking.
And I'm not a bad parent. I'm a black woman with integrity. I'm an educated black woman with integrity. But I've been nothing but judged. I've been nothing but judged. Y'all don't know me from a can of paint. How do you judge a person and then shut them out of the death that your officers did to my 18-year-old son?
No one's judging
They murdered my son.
We will have Mr. Sibley speak to you right now. So if you will go with Mr. Sibley right now, he will take you to a conference.
Why you can't talk to me right now? Right here, right now. Since it's in the open. I mean, because you guys didn't shut this whole murder out, sir. You wasn't here last week, so you shouldn't even be really speaking. I want to hear what you got to say, Steve.
No, ma'am, I'm sorry. There's nothing more I can do at this point other than what I've offered.
What you mean you can't do nothing? You can't tell me who killed my son? Y'all won't give me no autopsy report, no police report? I can't close down none of his entities because I can't even get a death certificate, sir.
And we've offered right now.
You haven't offered shit. Only thing you offered was that you killed my son.
Ma'am, the only.
I know you can't even explain yourself because you're stuttering, sir. Because you probably baffled yourself that your panel, you the president, and your panel been lying to me all this time. I don't understand.
What I don't want to do is I don't want to have you removed. What I don't want to do is to shut down the entire meeting. But you have two options.
It's going to be okay. Stop.
Excuse me, sir. Can everybody sit down, please? Please have a seat.
Okay.
Please,
I'm furious.
I'm
furious behind you motherfuckers. I am so fucking furious. Because you don't know how I feel nothing more when you feel me. You don't know how I feel. I am so furious with all of y'all. I am so furious.
All right, we're going to take a recess. We're going to clear the room and take a recess.
Hold on. Stop.
We're going to clear the room and take a recess.
With her, can I meet with her? Okay, just stop. Will you meet with me and the gentleman? Okay, I'll go. All right? I'll take you there.
Send those cops to jail. No, can you come this way, Cynthia? Because there's too many police right there. It's up to you this way. She said, I fucking hate you! You ain't got no power!
yourself.
Hey, Jay, you guys, wait, go ahead next door. We're good. No, you guys.
My cards in?
You guys.
How come I haven't been called? I turned mine in the first person.
There's still a bunch they
Yeah,
have to
yeah. This fucking conspiracy because I had to talk about the Jesse chicken. What?
Still on chief comments. That was just
When?
one of the
When will I get
Hey, Bobby.
Better.
Thin this out.
The room or not. Back to order. You can't get an order. Clear the room. We got a meeting to do.
You should have leadership that lets you be the good people that you want to be. Not people who let rogue, disgusting people leaving examples for who you should be.
Restart or
There are people
Give it a
dead
minute.
and brown. And you're protecting those people in sense.
Give him a minute.
Running for my life and they're beating me up. Nobody doing nothing. I just got police love me though. You've been trafficking people.
All of this pain, all you're trying to do is cover your own asses.
She's 19. He's 19.
Yeah, they weren't thrown out.
Okay, we are back in session. Can you please call the next speaker? Ma'am, you're disrupting the meeting. If you disrupt again, I'm going to ask you to leave.
We do have a quorum. And the next three speakers are Reverend K.W. Chulas, Oscar, Carlos Montes.
Carlos Montes already spoke.
He already spoke. And Prentice Jenkins.
Good morning.
Good morning to the commission. Not coming after that parent. It's something I had to regroup. I got to regroup in reference to it. But the lack of empathy towards the parent and towards her pain is something that I hope that the Los Angeles Police Department will work towards and remember in the face of senseless killings in our community. But today, I stand on Thursday, marked the second year anniversary of the death of and the killing of Ezel Ford. It's been 2 years. I stand on June the 9th. The commission found fault in one of the officers in response to that, and we're still currently waiting for the chief of police to issue discipline towards the officer. It's a tragedy that here we are 2 years later and no discipline has been given towards these officers. And to make it a matter of fact, last week the officers, we got word that the officers were suing the Los Angeles Police Department. So we're asking today that the chief move swiftly. It's been over a year. Nothing has happened to these officers. These officers are still being paid and are still working with the LAPD department. And we find that to be a slap in the face towards our community. Also, I stand here in response to the Jesse Romero asking that the videotape be released immediately. I pastor a church in Boyle Heights, the last remaining African-American church in that community, and we stand with the family and that community and asking that this tape be released immediately. If you can release a picture of the gun, you can release the videotape where we can have better transparency amongst the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
So on August 9th, LAPD killed 14-year-old Jesse Romero after a foot chase for writing graffiti in Boyle Heights. Once again, police initially identified this 14-year-old as a Hispanic man in his 20s. Robert Arcos, an LAPD deputy, gave a news conference stating that one witness thought she saw Jesse shoot a handgun at the direction of officers. He forgot to mention any other witness statements, including the lady who said she saw Jesse throw the gun towards the fence. The gun misfired when it hit the ground, and Jesse appeared startled. Then she heard 2 shots, and Jesse dropped to the ground. Arcos didn't reveal the body cam footage, but he did reveal a large picture of the gun Jesse was allegedly in the possession of. So how many people here today want the LAPD to release that body cam footage today? None of the police officers think that's a good thing to do? What about anybody on the board? Will any of you on the board stand with us today to demand that the body cam footage for Jesse Romero and Waukesha Wilson, who died in your custody on Easter Sunday, will any of you stand with us today and say that that body cam footage needs to be released? Anyone on the board? Just so we see where you really stand on this, because you came out after the ACLU said that, right? That the body cam footage, that you need to reform the writing about that, because we talked about that for weeks, and you didn't say shit. The ACLU comes out with it, the news gets a hold of it, and then you said it, right? So lead by example and release it today. You're saying that it should be public, right?
I've said that we need to take a look at our body camera footage.
Well, let's do
We
it.
need to have
You're the president of the fucking LAPD. Let's do it today.
We need to have a well-thought-out policy that addresses every situation,
think it out right now.
Not on a case-by-case basis.
We've thought it out. We've been talking about this shit for weeks. You just keep ignoring this, the same shit week after week. We ain't waiting anymore. We don't want to see this anymore.
Thank you for your comment, sir.
Thank you for your comment. The next
How
speaker.
long does it take to get to...
Next speaker, please.
The next speaker, Chaplain Jonathan
I'm not
Barnes.
leaving until we get an agreement on when this body cam footage will be released,
Sir,
and it should be
please
today.
have a seat, or
I'm
you'll
not
be,
going
or
nowhere.
you'll be asked to leave.
Fuck that.
Please have a seat, or you'll be asked to leave.
I'm not going anywhere. We need that body cam footage. This happens week after week. Every week the same shit happens.
Sir, I'm now...
we go through this
I'm
every
now
week.
asking you
No,
to
you've
leave.
done this before.
I'm sorry, I'm now asking
No,
you to
you're
leave.
not sorry.
have
You
to
do
leave
this
to
every
leave the
week.
room.
Either have to leave on your own or you'll be escorted out.
You have to leave.
Been specifically asked to leave.
May I have order, please? Sir? Okay. Sir? Okay.
He needs to leave. He can't.
We are going to... No. Sir, you need to leave the room. He did not leave. He did not sit down. I gave him multiple warnings.
Take a recess.
Okay. We're going to take a recess, and we're going to clear the entire room. We need to clear the entire room.
He's clearing the room right now.
The Ku Klux Klan is in this room today, and they're in blue. How do y'all sleep? And you're gonna fucking coward for put hands on a woman. A coward.
You're wrong, sir. You're wrong, Mr. Ray. You got the brown neck with you anywhere? I have the brown neck. Well, I may have some voting too. No, I didn't. You didn't hear what I said, Mr. Hayes. The room has to be clear. No, you're wrong, Mr.
The police commission is in recess. Everyone needs to leave this room at this time. Everyone needs to leave this room immediately.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. We have quorum.
Yes, we do. And the next speaker, Chaplain Jonathan Barnes.
Before we go to the speakers, I'm hoping that we can continue the meeting. We'll give everyone their opportunity to speak. We have a number of comments remaining on the report of the Chief of Police. We have a number of regular agenda items, and of course we have general public comment. And it's our full intention to give everybody their full opportunity to be heard on the matters or on general public comment on anything related to the police department. If we're forced to shut the meeting down because of continued disruptions, then at that point we would continue on without an audience, which would be very unfortunate because I do think, along with my fellow commissioners, that it is important that these meetings be held open to the public. But if we have to take another recess, we'll be forced to continue without the public. So it's my hope that we can respect all the speakers. We will certainly respect those at the dais, and hopefully the folks we'll respect everybody at the podium, and hopefully equal respect will be given to the people at the dais as well. Okay, can you please call the next speaker, please?
Chaplain Jonathan Barnes.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Chaplain Jonathan James Barnes, a representative of the National Action Network. I just have several suggestions and comments in regards to what we've experienced here recently this morning, as well as over the past several months and years. In order to be a great leader, you should be a great servant to your community. Become more involved directly yourselves, because from individuals' perspectives, they just look at you as well-dressed, good-living individuals, and you have to deal with the day-to-day struggles. So I would suggest for you all to become more involved in some facet or form. Also, I suggest that you become more proactive and not reactive. Let's try and prevent problems from occurring than solving problems, because as you can see here, solving problems, it just creates more problems. I would also suggest that as you deal with civilians that possibly commit a crime, deal with the officers as well, and let the public know that you're actually detaining them. They're not just being freed. And then the civilian, we commit a crime, we're taken into custody, and then try to be proven innocent later. Also, I would suggest is, people, the reason why they're running from law enforcement is because they're constantly hearing or seeing individuals shot and killed. I mean, I myself, I would be skeptical and nervous, even in my clergyman uniform. And also, restrain from profiling individuals. Give a person the benefit of the doubt before just seeing a person with tattoos that they are assumed as being a criminal. And also, I hear that you have 57 chaplains that's associated with you. Have them get more involved with the community, and have those that were of the community be involved with the community, like myself. I mean, I was street active for 13 years of my life. I was deemed as a minister to society. Now I've been ordained as a minister to society. Individuals like myself, we have a connection because we were of that community. It's kind of hard to help someone if you don't have that understanding. Not saying you can't, but it's kind of hard for someone to assist them if they can't relate to them. And finally, I explained to people that I saw these situations occurring.
Excuse me, sir. Your time is up. Thank you for your comments. Please submit another card for general public comment, and love to give you an opportunity to continue.
Surely. Well, thank you all for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Okay, the next three speakers, Prentice Jenkins, Paula Miner, Michael Novick.
Prentice Jenkins, City Life newsletter publisher, activist since 1991. I want to say that for a long time, I came in here and all I gave was the vinegar. I never gave the apple juice. I remember when they did that to us after the civil unrest. They kept saying that, everybody in South Central is a gang member. That meant I was a gang member. Sure enough, I wasn't. But the media kept saying that. I remember how angry that made me feel because they're saying I'm a gang member and I'm not a gang member. They called it South Central. And South Central sounds like a compound, but South Los Angeles sounds like someplace that is part of Los Angeles. I was reminded of that by a very wise individual. And I want to come in here today and say that if I've offended any of the board, I'm sorry. Because I remember when they offended me, they called me a terrorist as an activist. Contractors called me a terrorist. I remember how that made me feel. Listen, there are no racists on this board. Racists would not be in this room with any black people. That's the one thing I know. I understand and I truly respect my colleagues. And I'm just saying this for myself. If I've offended anyone, President Johnson, Vice President Sobroff, I've offended anyone, I'm sorry. I do understand what I heard today, and I like what I heard today, that Assistant Chief Moore gave us a detailed account on what happened. Now, that's only the cop side. We don't have the videotape side. But that's a step in the right direction in terms of transparency. He gave us a detailed account. I'm truly impressed, and I actually would account that to President Johnson and Vice President Sobroff for starting that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Paula Miner.
Good morning.
Good morning. Paula Miner, Black Lives Matter. I stand with my colleagues who have commented to you about the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability. I stand to request that the video be released of Jesse Romero's murder. We understand that you let out certain information, that there are certain pictures. It would seem to resolve the conflict between what the community perceives has happened and what you have told us today has happened, that you could release that video. You could follow the pattern of other cities across the United States who have begun to release video in the effort to resolve some of the conflict. And as you guys say repeatedly, particularly you, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Sobroff, your interest is building trust with the community. This would be one way to build trust. I also need to mention the names of those people who have been murdered by LAPD in the last 6 weeks. Keith Bursey, Richard Risher, Jesse Romero. We come here and we talk about de-escalation, we talk about new procedures, we talk about this, that, and the other. But again, I say, it never seems to reach the reality that we experience. So for the rest of my time, since we have so much chaos, I'm going to call for a moment of silence for these recent murder victims and their families. And my last word is, as LAPD, Mr. Sobroff, Mr. Johnson say, it's just Black Lives Matter coming. You have greatly helped to unite us more with our friends in the brown community. We are united. We are against continuing to murder our people.
Thank you for your comments.
Michael Novick.
Good morning.
Michael Novick. I'm one of 100 people from White People for Black Lives who marched on Ciclovia on Sunday, raising the name of Jesse Romero and Riddell Jones and Keith Bursey and Waukesha Wilson and Ezell Ford, and thousands of people along the line of that Ciclovia joined in our chant to fire Charlie Beck. I understand from Assistant Chief Moore here that Beck is on vacay and he needs to vacate that office permanently and immediately. I was in New York for the Black Lives Matter march on New York City Hall Park, and Bratton was gone the next day. And I think you need to take a lesson from your partners across the continent. I want to say that the blood of Jesse Romero is on your hands. You finally consented to go out to meet in the community. You went to Hollenbeck, and when you were faced with the anger and the pain of the brown community, you called that meeting to a close too. And as a result, yet another killing takes place in that community, and it's your responsibility. I want to say that although I believe that the video should be released, if you're not aware of it, there was a study just recently released, a comprehensive study around the United States that showed that the use of body cams by law enforcement has increased the killings of black and brown people by 4% in the cities where that's taking place. And if you're not aware of it, you better become aware of it and change your policies fundamentally. I think it's time to abolish the Los Angeles Police Department, not just fire the chief, and substitute a community-based program of community self-defense. And I will say that there was a man up here earlier who had a sock puppet of a pig, and if all of you are acting as sock puppets for a system that is based on white supremacy and colonialism exploitation, you need to take the puppets off and replace them with people who can deal with the community on a basis of respect.
Thank you. The next three speakers, Juan Riveros, Alejandro, and Ebony Faye. Mr. Riveros.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here to lift up the name and memory of Jesse Romero. Jesse was a 14-year-old boy who was shot and killed last Tuesday by LAPD. We do not yet know who murdered him, but we know the ultimate culprit is white supremacy. The family is yet to see the body cam footage. Release the footage. As Jesse lay dying, the police stood over him and handcuffed him. Now, either he was already dead and they didn't care about desecrating his body, or he was still alive and they didn't care about saving his life. Like Tamir writes before him, Jesse was a child to whom the police denied the luxury of childhood. And now he is dead. The media has slandered his name, calling him a gang member, even though a recent audit of the CalGang database found that there are 28 babies less than 1 year old who are classified as known gang members. Babies. 85% of all entries in the database are either black or brown. It is not a coincidence that 76% of those killed by LAPD last year were black or brown. Jesse's 15th birthday is a day from tomorrow. He could have been my brother. In another life, he could have been me. Every time me and my family cross the border, we get detained and put in holding, but we're safe. That's as far as it usually goes. Jesse was killed for no reason, but it's not senseless. It's not coincidence that it's black and brown lives that are being taken, and it needs to stop. And I thank our leaders with Black Lives Matter for waking more and more of us up to the genocide that is happening here and everywhere else.
Thank you for your comments.
Alejandro. Okay, the next speaker, Ebony Faye, followed by Jojo Smith.
What's craziest about this is nobody in this room thinks that they're a bad person. Everybody here thinks that they're doing what's absolutely best, and I get that. What we're telling you is that your view of things is not what we need. You've increased your police officers, you've increased the amount of force, you have all of these like really awesome toys, and yet the violent crime gets more violent, you're killing more of us, and none of that is stopping. So maybe you need to stop and listen. You really need to listen, and not from a perch. You just really need to listen. I will tell you, I worked in Boyle Heights for 3 years. We don't need you there. They don't need you there. You think that they do, but they don't. I grew up in the neighborhood, Lower Baldwin Hills, Baldwin Village, called the Jungle. We don't need you there. We really don't. We can really take care of our own children. We really, really can. And it's not a dare. It's nothing like against any of these people who are trying to be the best people that they know how to be. Unfortunately, the way everything is set up right now, they can't do their jobs well because the people who are the rogue actors who do things that really inflame the community are held up as exemplars of what police work should be. It's in policy to kill, so that's going to be the tool that we go to, not to talk, not to de-escalate, not to just back off if I know I had a bad day. No, I'm going to end a life. And this board, all these people are going to say that was in policy. Go back to work. Good job. Here's an award for valor and bravery. 14-year-old. How brave is that? It's kind of like some of these fundamentalists that like pray for like these 80-year-olds like on the Supreme Court to like die. Like how much faith is it to pray for like an 80-year-old to like pass away, right? So if Charlie Beck needs to go, and if y'all aren't with that, whoever's not with that needs to go too. We're doing you a courtesy. We're doing you a courtesy right now of engaging with you. But this is getting old, and it is insane.
Thank you for your comments.
There are people here, just standing here, I'm facing more consequences than officers who have killed citizens.
Ma'am, please have a seat.
I got you, Matt. I got you. I got you. I'm really not meaning any personal disrespect. But right here, I'm just trying to drive this point home.
It's driven
The man who killed Riddell
seat.
Jones, the
Your
man
time
who
is
killed
up.
the officers who killed Ezell Ford are
Ma'am,
not facing what
that's the
I'm
last
facing
warning.
right now
Next, I'm gonna have to
at
ask
this
you to
moment. At this moment. And you're prepared, even with the power that you have
sorry,
right
you now
now,
have to leave the room.
have all of these people with the
Ma'am, you have to
guns
leave the room.
remove me. But a murder, I didn't
Ma'am,
kill
you have to leave
anybody.
the room. If you will not leave on your own volition, then I'm going to clear the entire ma'am. I will clear the entire room, and we will. Thank you. Yes. No, you have to leave. I want to remind everybody that when we have more than 10 speakers, our rules are I can limit every speaker to 1 minute. I've never done that. I let everybody speak for their. Miss Abdullah, you're interrupting the meeting. Please stop disrupting me. Please stop disrupting the meeting. I've let everybody talk beyond their 2 minutes. So please stop disrupting the meeting. I've let everybody have 2 full minutes. We would have been on to the next item a long time ago if I had limited everybody to 1 minute. I did not do that. I'm trying to give everybody their full opportunity to be heard. But, ma'am, you're disrupting. Okay, let's bring the room back. Let's bring this meeting back to order. Okay. Everybody, let's please bring this meeting back to order so we can actually keep it as a public meeting. Sir, go ahead. Start the clock, please.
Jojo Smith of Los Angeles Community Action Network. Stop LAPD spying. I stand here today because black lives do matter. My kids' lives matter. My partner's life matters. Ezell Ford's life mattered. But y'all sit here and y'all keep raising white supremacy. Chief Charlie Beck needs to be gone. I'm going to quote what he said. His men's lives matter. He doesn't want to break his men's morale. But what about the family's morales? What about the mother that had to be escorted when they had 20 cops surrounding her when all she wanted to do is say what she had to say? Am I telling you, you sit here, you're sitting behind LAPD. You're supposed to be sitting behind the city still. And sister, I hope you don't get wrapped up in their bullshit. Because your life matters in my eyes. But everything that goes on in this room is bullshit.
Thank you. The next 3 speakers, Hamid Khan, Kai Utsumi, Wayne Spindler.
I think it's increasingly becoming more and more obvious, and you'll get used to it, Ms. Hill, about how you are here to be a shock absorber for a system that is fundamentally flawed by design. This is where it really meets it. Across the street is the body that legislates. This is the body that enforces. Over on the other side is a body that adjudicates. And across the street from there is a body that propagandizes, the LA Times. So we are surrounded by this structure, this whole system that is fundamentally flawed by design. I'm going to speak to the media that in February of this year, with a lot of pomp and show, the de-escalation program was unleashed, where it was going to be the new LAPD. It was going to be community policing. It was going to be foot patrol in Hollenbeck to raise community policing. And what has happened since then? 5 people have been murdered in Hollenbeck. That is the de-escalation program. Did anybody in the media question that? That what happened to the de-escalation program? Did anybody in the media question that? That since body cameras have been launched, police killings have gone up? Did you ask Michael Moore that he speaks about the conditions and tactics that are being created, which are very much grounded in counterinsurgency? Were you briefed about the dirt boxes? Were you briefed about stingrays? Were you briefed about high-definition cameras? Were you briefed about trap-wire technologies? Were you briefed that the LAPD is itching to get those drones off the ground? Were you briefed about the suspicious activity reporting? Were you briefed about predictive policing? Were you briefed about intelligence gathering guidelines? This is the superstructure that has been created, which is going to lead to more killing. When you look at predictive policing, suspicious activity reporting, gang injunctions, it is ripe to shoot and kill a young person because it gives them a license to kill. And when you look at a tradition and culture, which is shoot first, ask later, when you look at a culture and tradition that is so steeped in conspiracies, in lies, in deception, in falsifying evidence, you will have more murders on your hand.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
I'm leaving right now. Last year, LAPD killed 21 people, the most of any PD in the country. This year, LAPD again leads the country.
Mr. Kine, your time is up.
That is what you're walking into, and we'll have more conversations about that.
Kai Iltsumi. Wayne Spindler.
That's why a child is dead today.
Wayne Spindler, followed by Ted Hayes and Mariela Saba.
Why you can't talk to me now? If I'm here, I'm not going nowhere. Man, your meeting don't mean nothing to me, homie. Y'all sitting up here trying to give people awards for killing kids. I don't rock like that.
Let's do that.
Right now.
Right now.
Because I've been lied to for 3 weeks. What you got to say, Steve?
Oh, not him. See the gentleman who stood up? That is the
I know, you got to figure out that.
You need to hear the shit again. And again and again and again.
He was here last week and nobody even talked to me. I mean, what kind of baseball do y'all play? She's at another. Come on now. I need to know something. Y'all killed my son, homie. Do you understand that? Do you really understand that? He was right there. Do you understand what I'm saying? And y'all not telling me nothing. That's not fair to me as a parent. And I'm not a bad parent. I'm a black woman with integrity. I'm an educated black woman with integrity. But I've been nothing but judge. I've been nothing but judge. Y'all don't know me from a can of paint. How do you judge a person and then shut them out of the death that your officers did to my 18-year-old son? They murdered my son.
You will have Mr. Sibley speak to you right now. So if you will go to Mr. Sibley right now, we will take you to a conference.
Right here, right now. Since it's in the open.
Yeah.
I mean, because you
public meeting.
You haven't even given her a death certificate to bury her son, Steve.
She waived. It's public. She waived it.
What you mean you can't do nothing? You can't tell me to kill my son? Y'all don't give me no autopsy report, no police report. I can't fall down that because I can't even get a death certificate.
Oh, Christ.
That's what you signed up for, Cynthia. God help you.
Ted Hayes.
Good morning.
Morning. If there's such a thing as a tactical alert being called in a room, we had one here today. I wonder why the president did not commend his colleague, Cynthia McLean Hill, who must have had a sense of trepidation and apprehension when she left that dais and came down here. And despite the show of force that was here, she quelled the entire situation. I would not have done that. Not that I'm a coward, but I would not stand between the police, not knowing whether they're going to say, oh, he reached for my gun. And what happens when someone reaches for the gun? But, Mr. President, that was an illustration of what a community member on this commission can possibly do. Immediately, she gained the respect of the entire audience and the person who said, I'm not leaving. But that person did leave under the direction and the leadership of Cynthia McLean Hill. Thank you for your valor, and there'll be valor commendation. I'm not suggesting that she gets a commission to valor, but that was remarkable. I think all the officers can tell you they were grateful that that was the manner in which this situation was quelled or reduced. I don't know whether the person who said I'm not leaving until I get some answers ever got those answers, but at least we did not have a showdown at the OK Corral today. So I hope that when you did do well by pointing out to Commissioner Soboroff, what he was talking about was not on the agenda. But when we do talk about that, let's not do a black-on-black crime thing. State crime is what we're concerned about at the hands of the police.
Because you're shooting them in the back. And they're dropping in our streets. And their blood is what's spilling through the cracks. Can you sit with that? I went to the street where Jesse Romero was murdered last Tuesday after being here. While we were there, a lot of community members were showing up. And each one was coming with a story of how their loved ones were also murdered by police. A young black woman remembers being a child, and her sister got killed by LAPD. Her uncle was shot in the back, too. And she has 4 children, and one of the boys was there amongst the candles. On the same block where he lives is where a 14-year-old got killed, and I could see him processing that it could be me. And he was looking down at his cell phone, in tune with the conversation. And this bright, brilliant children who you all have on gang injunctions and gang databases. He saw his mom ridiculing the lie that the youth was shooting at the police, and she kept ridiculing it and ridiculing it rightfully so. And the child looks up and says, and then they said that the gun was fully loaded. The child can see through your lies, and they're afraid to be murdered by you. 640,000 children are in LAUSD right now. They're having these conversations, and they're afraid too. But we're much stronger than that. And this place is better as housing. We'd have to do a lot of saging down. That Hollenbeck department should be a youth center. All of those departments should be community centers.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Thank you for your comments.
You are nor needed or wanted in the streets. This all has to stop. All of this whole show,
ma'am,
this
thank you for
violent
your
show
comments.
needs to stop in this lifetime. And y'all got to do your part to do that. We're doing our part. We want to see this world different. This does not need to exist. None of this. Y'all don't need to
And
be
please
armed
have a
like that.
seat.
You don't need to be talking to people like that. You've
Please
lost
have a
it.
seat.
Don't touch her.
Okay, now both of you are going to have to leave the room, please. Both of you
Gonna
individuals
leave
need
on
to
our
leave the
own
room.
terms, but I don't need. I just.
We'll get your stuff. My hands. We'll get your stuff. No, I will get my stuff.
It's all right. Let them get their stuff. Let them get their stuff, and they will leave on their own volition, I'm sure.
Thank you. And there are no other comment cards on this item, sir. We're now on item number 4.
Let's wait a second until they leave the room, please.
Thank you. What is her name, please? Was it for this item, for item 3?
She can speak. We'll give.
You can speak, ma'am.
Is there a microphone that we can? Okay, order, please.
Guys, go ahead and bring her up. Guys, bring her up here. Just bring her up here. Wheel her up here. Help her. There you go.
Thank you for the opportunity. My first time ever here, I had a stroke and got out of the hospital yesterday. I just buried my husband in the Vietnam War Marine. My family has always been with the police force, even in Minnesota, but I'm a retired social worker. We've been all law-abiding citizens in my family. I had a child almost 50. Her name is Grace Miracle. And she can't read or write. She was born with autism, developmentally delayed, 5-year-old mentality. They kidnapped my daughter going to special needs school, the human trafficking people. She can't read, she can't write. She's don't even know her address. I called missing person. They couldn't find her. They gave my daughter drugs. By the time they found her, we put her in a hospital. They gave her so many drugs. I don't know all the street name drugs. I don't do drugs. I don't even drink coffee. I don't know nothing about the drugs or the human trafficking. But all I'm doing right now is I pray in the Spirit because my daughter don't know what's going on. She's 5-year-old mentality, but the way that the detective was handling this, I feel if y'all will do a full investigation, please. They got her in human trafficking, and they're doing that to a lot of mentally ill people. My daughter is 19. I have her missing person report here, and she's a very, very precious child. We did missionary work in Africa. She don't know nothing about cigarettes. She don't know nothing. But they know where she is. 6 and Wall, somewhere on Skid Row. They know, but they won't get her. I don't know who's all involved, but my daughter doesn't even know her way home, even if she was set free.
Thank you for coming down. I'm gonna have an officer speak with you right now and get some more information and try and help you with your situation.
Yes,
So we're gonna have an officer meet with you right now and provide some help to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are no other comment cards on this item. We're now on item number 4, regular agenda items. We have 2 comment cards for A, 1 for B, 2 for D, 1 for E, 1 for F, and 1 for G.
I don't think do any of my fellow commissioners want to report on item 4E? This is the grant application regarding. No. Okay, then let's. We should have
a brief report on 4G.
We're going to have a report on everything else, but if we could just call the comment on 4E, so we can dispose of that item.
Okay, 4E. Tina McCrary.
Is Tina McCrary here?
I'm sorry.
That's right.
I'll move approval.
I'm sorry, that was the wrong person.
Is that it?
It's Agustin Cevada.
Who?
Agustin Cevada.
I say it might be slightly off your topic, Mr. Johnson. However,
This
it's
is item 4E. It's regarding a grant application and award for the 2016 Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Grant. So I'm going to ask you to stay on that topic. If there's something else you'd like to speak on, you need to submit a card on that item, please.
I would like to speak about a topic that's off the
Okay,
road.
so then you need to stay on topic for this item
Why?
because that is the item that we're on.
What is it about the First Amendment that you don't understand, Mr. Johnson?
Do you have a comment on item 4E?
I have one on 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so if you don't have a comment on item 4E, I'm gonna call for the vote.
Move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, let's go to item 4A, and we'll just go do the rest in order, please.
Okay. 4A, we have Lisa Simpson and Ted Hayes.
Can you please have a seat? If you have a comment on any item, please submit a card, and we're happy to give you your time on that item.
Mr. Hayes.
4A. Are we going to get?
Relative to the Medal of Valor.
Are we going to get a report on this?
The Medal of Valor appears.
Hold on. Are we not doing reports on the Medal of Valor?
Commissioner President, at your request, we can.
Sure. I mean, I think it's. I think each of these individuals deserve to be. Obviously, we'll have the Medal of Valor ceremony, but
We're at your direction and availability, and we're just waiting your lead as to request for that. We certainly make comments.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How you doing? Lieutenant Friedlander, acting commanding patrol officer of Van Nuys Division currently. Item number 4 in regards to the Medal of Valor for Police Officer Ortiz. I don't know how much you want or if you've been given any.
I think obviously we all read the report, but I think for the benefit of those in the audience, it would be great to give a general description of the actions of this individual and why we're recommending approval.
Yes, sir. Also, I have 5 copies of some photos of the vehicle that we're going to talk about in a minute. If I could just pass these.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Basically, on February 27, 2016, Officer Ortiz was en route home. It was 12 o'clock midnight. He was on the 5 freeway northbound, and this was actually, there was some publicity for this incident, and basically 2 vehicles were racing and collided into a UPS truck, which then sent the UPS truck over onto northbound 5 freeway traffic, exploding, landing on a vehicle, killing the occupants of the UPS truck, and also the vehicle it landed on. There was a gentleman, Javier Gonzalez Jr., citizen. He was driving home in a SUV, and he observed this UPS truck fly over, crashing onto another vehicle. He was just 10 feet of him. He didn't have a chance to stop. He ended up actually crashing then into the UPS vehicle. Immediately, his vehicle was engulfed in flames, and he was trapped in the front of the vehicle. He was able to climb to the rear of the SUV and was attempting to get out of the vehicle, but unable to open the rear hatch of the SUV. He started feeling, he even describes that one of our sergeants met with him and talked to him, and he says, my arms were starting to burn. I was desperately trying to get out. I saw people 40 feet away tending to other people, and I was pounding on the window, and suddenly he sees who we later identifies as off-duty Officer Ortiz, make eye contact with him and start suddenly running, full sprint to him. Ortiz got there and tried to break open the window, wasn't able to do so, but finally was able to unlatch it and release, and actually pulled Mr. Gonzalez by dragging him 40 feet to Meridian to care for him. And then a little bit later, maybe about a few minutes later, someone was like, hey, we got to get out of there. It's going to explode again. And sure enough, Ortiz then dragged him an additional 30 feet and basically saved his life. He calls him his guardian angel. And if he hadn't been there at that moment, there's no doubt that Mr. Gonzalez would have perished in the vehicle.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Do we have any comment on this item?
We have one comment. We have Ted Hayes.
I am not one for pomp and pageantry, but I do believe that these Medal of Valor awards should be some sort of ceremonial event for the department. At least the officers ought to be present.
There is.
I beg pardon?
There is we will be voting to approve them receiving the awards, and then there is an award ceremony with the officers will be attending.
Well, I hope you understand if all of you are present, that's a meeting. So you have to be
Commissioner
concerned
President,
about
perhaps I can
your
add-
presence at the Medal of Valor.
Commissioner President, perhaps I could add in a framework of this. Forgive me that we should have perhaps introduced this in that we have a series of Medal of Valor nominations today. In framing the Medal of Valor, which is the department's highest award for bravery, the organization identifies actions of the officer both on or off duty. Those actions are memorialized in a report and including various photographic evidence, if there's anything in regards to news media, officers' account, witnesses' accounts, and that is reviewed by a local command, and that's which the lieutenant's here today representing Van Nuys area. Those reports are then reviewed by and forwarded for a nomination for a Medal of Valor or other lesser awards for bravery and valor through the chain of command, ultimately go to an awards board, which Commander P.D. Smith is here representing on behalf of Chief Bill Murphy, the consideration. Only those nominations of the highest caliber are forwarded then through the chain of command to ultimately the Chief of Police, who either affirms or will direct a different award to be granted. Medal of Valors that are deserving are then forwarded to this board, and this board is the authoring board for the awarding of that medal. And so each of the circumstances are closely reviewed and examined, and we believe that today's grouping best represents the actions of our men and women. Many of them, to a person, I'm sure, would say that they're just doing their job. To Mr. Hayes' point, on September 8th, the department, in concert with the Police Foundation, will honor these men and women as well as recipients of the department's Purple Heart in a ceremony that will be held to bring the right recognition to them. But again, I'm sure each of these men and women will say they're just doing their job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would at least suggest that the lobby, the foyer, have the photographs of whatever ceremony that was conducted so we can see these officers, not in the flesh, but in photographs. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no other comments on this item.
Thank you. This individual is certainly deserving. Do I have a motion to approve the department's report?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
We have one comment card for 4B. We have David's. Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll have reports on each.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am Captain Martin Baez. I'm the Commanding Officer, Hollenbeck Division, and it really is my privilege to give you the information on two very deserving officers who were nominated for the Medal of Valor. On July 31st, at 2015, at 2:45 in the morning, officers Danielle Navarro and Junior McMeekin responded to a traffic collision on Whittier Boulevard and Boyle Avenue. As the officers saw the wreckage, one of the particular vehicles involved was engulfed in flames. The driver was slumped over behind the steering wheel, unconscious, and these two officers, without disregard of their own safety, approached the vehicle and broke the window and was able to save that individual. This particular incident was caught partially on digital in-car video, and I hope it was part of your package, where you can actually see Officer McMeekin pulling this individual out of the vehicle. And it was almost reminiscent of an action movie as the officers are pulling the individual out of the vehicle becomes fully engulfed in flames, and it appears to have exploded. We have independent witnesses that saw this incident, and their comments were very reminiscent of something from, like I said, the movies, where the flames were actually all over the vehicle, and it had not been by the heroic actions of these two Hollenbeck officers. I'm sure that Mr. Ramirez, who was the victim of this, would have been deceased as a result of this traffic collision. He actually suffered a fractured right tibia, laceration to his right arm, and severe head trauma. But as a result, the officers did save his life with no regard. Also, the paramedics were interviewed in this particular incident, and the paramedics also concurred that it had not been for the actions of these two Hollenbeck officers, Mr. Ramirez would have surely deceased while engulfed in the vehicle during this time. So these two officers were put up for the Medal of Valor, and it was recommended by the Commendations Board that they receive that, and I hope you take that into consideration for approval.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Do we have any comments on this item?
We have David Sanchez and Wayne Spindler.
Don't think just Spindler. Here's Mr. Spindler.
Had a card on 4A, but you want to play that way. That's good. I got a nominee, a great nominee for one of your medals.
Unless this is specific to the actions of Officer Daniel Navarro and Officer Junior McMeekin, then you're not on topic, sir.
Yeah, well, you answered Mr. Tud Hayes' question, right? So it's about the subject matter involving how you get to these people's determination of who deserves it.
No, unless your comment is specific to these individuals. Mr. Hayes' question was, are we honoring these people publicly, the individuals that were identified in 4A, and we answered it. So unless your comment is germane to these two officers, it's off topic. So,
well, I would think that this is Officers Navarro and McKeekin, right? Hollenbeck area. I would think that as part of their award, they would look up to somebody who would have the guts to come forward for their department and release information that shows their department covers up criminal misconduct among the heroic actions that they do.
Okay, Mr. Spindler, you're off topic. Last warning.
So I think that these officers should defer to the honorable former LAPD officer Patrick Findley versus the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, BC 629478.
Topic. Please have a seat.
Read it, Steve. It's a good one.
Please have a seat.
You got to read it, Steve.
Do I have a motion to approve the department's report?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Okay, we're now on item 4C, and we have no comment cards on 4C.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Lieutenant Christopher Chase, Acting Patrol Commanding Officer, Mission Patrol Division. On July 11th, 2011, Officer Francisco Rubio and his partner were on a perimeter at a loud party. While on the perimeter, Officer Rubio observed headlights approaching their position. Based on that, he was able to grab his partner and drag him away. Quickly, right after that, as that happened, the vehicle came up, hit the black and white, and caused it to spin. This caused Officer Rubio and his partner both to be thrown far away. Officer Rubio sustained serious injuries in the incident. He was able to recover later, but he sustained a severe brain injury and bone injuries, and his partner had several compound fractures. But it was determined that based on his quick efforts of getting his partner out of there, it could have been a worse incident. There was actually a second black and white that was hit from the first one, and two other officers received injuries as well. But Frank Rubio is back to work now. He's off for over 6 months based on the injuries, based on his bravery at the incident. But he's full duty and back to work now.
Great, thank you. It's good to hear that he's back at work. You said no comments on this item,
We
right?
do have one comment
Okay.
card. We have Prentice Jenkins.
Prentice Jenkins, City Life newsletter publisher, activist since 1991.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know what? as I said, I'm going to start giving the apple juice too, since I'm always giving the vinegar. This is the apple juice right here. There's no way we're going to know that officers have done this, because we're not going to see this on the news. We're only going to see where the cops have shot someone on the news. Am I right, President Johnson?
I agree that not enough attention is given to the many good deeds of our officers.
Thank you. And also, I want everyone to know that I'm in total support of this police commission, because this thing is going on all across the world, and guess what? We're not invited in. Those people aren't invited in Russia and China. Well, we're invited in here to speak our piece. So when I say to Officer Francisco Rubio and Officer Vincent Ortiz and Officer Daniel Navarro and Junior McMeekin, those are brave men, and they deserve the Medal of Valor. They probably don't want it because they'll probably say, I'm just doing my job. I think you should put their names out there in the lobby and give a small synopsis of what they did. Because when people come in here, we can read that and say, wow, that actually happened? See, I never heard of this before. But sure enough, here are officers out there doing their job. And all we can talk about is the ones that are killing people. Now, I'm going to still talk about the ones that are killing people. But the thousands of them out there that are actually doing their job, right? And the ones that arrested and didn't shoot, those are the ones we need to be talking about. Thank you.
It's an excellent idea to have something in the lobby regarding each of these individuals. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the department's report?
Honored to move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Now we're on 4D.
Good morning.
Good morning. Captain Jonathan Tippett from Metropolitan Division, and this one involves quite a few people. It's a little bit of a lengthy incident that occurred, but during the early morning of August 18, 2014, two officers from 77th Division Patrol were involved in a vehicle stop that turned into a pursuit. They ended up stopping their vehicle at Hill Street and 37th Street, where the Tahoe stopped with two individuals inside. One of the suspects exited the vehicle with an assault rifle and fired on the officers. There was multiple rounds that were actually fired into the vehicle at that time. A large perimeter was set up at that location. There was quite a few officers that responded from Metropolitan Division, K-9 SWAT. They set up search teams. It involved Officers Perez, Algren, Kilman, Corbet, Curry, and Gallegos formed up in a K-9 search formation and proceeded towards the heat source that was indicated by the air unit. As they began to set up on that position, the suspect began to fire at them. They then brought in additional vehicles from SWAT team, including the Medcat and Bearcat. They were searching for the suspect. During that time, they indicated that there was a possible heat source at one location. As they were cornering him into that area, the suspect actually came out with his rifle and began firing at the officers. One of the officers that was behind one of the SWAT vehicles took a round to the knee, which basically blew out his leg, and he was incapable of getting himself to safety at that point. Another officer was able to pull him into safety behind the vehicle, and multiple officers assisted in capturing the suspect after they fired upon him. They were able to take a very unique weapon away from him. It was a semi-automatic Norinco firearm assault rifle with an attached 78-round drum magazine and 15-inch barrel. This officer is back to work. However, he's light duty with permanent damage to his knee, so he's currently working the desk, but there's multiple officers that were involved in this particular incident. We're very fortunate with the rounds that were fired at the officers from 77th. The rounds that were fired at Metropolitan Division, K-9, and also the SWAT officers were very fortunate that no one was killed in that incident. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any comment on this?
We have 3 comment cards on this item. We have Agustin Cevada, David Sanchez, and Wayne Spindler.
Just like everything else, all these stories come into question because we do not know if there's lies. Just like we don't know who killed Jesse Romero, we don't know that. It's been hidden. It's a lie.
Sure, that's off topic.
It is on topic. It's on the negative side. Just because you don't want to hear it, you're over
Not
here
regarding
patting yourself on
these
the back.
officers or this situation.
What's that?
Your comments need to be regarding this incident and these officers. If you have a comment relating to this incident, we're happy to
specifically
hear
one
it.
of them where the guy got shot in the knee. I don't know if that's true. How do we know? Dude, is there any kind of photographic evidence or any of that? No, we don't know. We know right now what we're having is, you know, you're under so much pressure. You have to have some kind of thing that's positive, and that's you're bringing up this stuff about the officers that did this, and we're going to give them a thing out in front of the lobby and all that baloney. You know, a lot of the stuff you guys do is a lie, just like what has happened in Hollenbeck. It's a lie. The thing with who was the officer who killed Jesse Romero? We don't know. It's hidden. You know, back in 1995, they killed Jose Antonio Gutierrez with 6 shots in the back.
You're off topic again. Can you
No,
please
it's
bring
not.
it back on
It's
topic?
it's part of the narrative of what's going on within the department in Hollenbeck. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, poor the guys didn't do this, didn't do that." How do we know? We don't know. You guys hide things and do what the hell you want to do. And you over here, Johnson, you're over here covering up for what's going on in this department. It's not. You know, I don't know. Bustamante should speak up more. He's the Inspector General. And he does not come out with the good evidence. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But we have to know because this department is riddled with lies and going against the people. And you use all kinds of tactics. That's what they have you there for, Johnson, to stop the people from actually being able to speak. You're the person who is the stopper, the buffer between us and the reality.
Call the next speaker, please.
Mr. Spindler.
Yes, again, it's really good that we have the annual awards, the Patrick Findlay Awards. And, of course, on the award will be inscribed BC 629478 in commemoration of that great moment in the L.A. Superior Court when somebody finally started telling about all this bullshit. And see, that's what bravery is. Now this is a job-related situation. You got a guy with it's called a barrel clip, by the way. It's referred to as a barrel clip because it looks like a barrel. It holds 100 rounds. So, I mean, it's called looking at guns in person and not on the internet. You know it's a barrel clip, right? So it holds 100 rounds. So that means that 22 rounds were ejected from the goddamn weapon, right? And you collected those 22 shells, didn't you? So I don't get this. He got 22 rounds off on an automatic with a barrel round clip, and only one shot got on to one cop in the knee. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? You got 100 police officers against one amateur jackoff with a 78 rounds left in the barrel clip of some fucking machine gun. You know, semi-automatic, automatic. Was it automatic? Because that's warfare, right? So, again, my version of heroics would be no injuries, no deaths, and an in-custody arrest without injury or incident. That would be my minimum conditions for this award. So what we have is just more warfare out there in the goddamn streets. It's really fucking shameful, this city. You know that? Really is.
We have no other comment cards on this item.
These officers are truly worthy of the Medal of Valor. Do I have a
so moved.
Thank you. Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you. We're now on item 4F.
Very much. So I'd like a report on item 4F and G, please. So let's start with item 4F.
4F, relative to the revolving training fund semi-annual report, reporting period January 1st through June 30th, 2015.
Good morning. Captain Davalos from Training Division.
Donna Belosis, Training Division.
You need no introduction.
The revolving training fund stems from a ordinance that was passed by the City Council back in October of 1996. The purpose of the fund is to afford the department the ability to enhance its training opportunities for both sworn and civilians. This helps develop our personnel in order to impart greater service to the citizens of the City of Los Angeles. The report that is attached is a breakdown of those expenditures. In short, approximately $228,000 is set aside for executive development, $1,022,000 for professional development, and $250,000 for college tuition reimbursement for employees, both sworn and civilian. In addition, the revolving training fund is used for the payment of travel per diem, tuition related to the training. It also allows for us to rent facilities if needed so that we can provide training to outside agencies. Part of the funding that we receive is from outside agencies for the training that we are providing to them. In addition, College of the Canyons also reimburses the department for those courses that are deemed worthy of credit from College of the Canyons. And then we do receive funds from outside agencies as well that we put through our police academy.
Thank you. I just had one question. Any questions from my?
No, sir.
So the only question I had, the one thing that just seemed a little bit off to me, just in terms of the when I look at the ethnic breakdown of the department, I noticed the chart that had the ethnic breakdown of the expenditures of these funds. I think it's on page 19. Any idea why it's so? It's not really reflective at all of sort of the breakdown of the department. I would have expected it to align more closely with the actual ethnic breakdown of our department. Any ideas why that is?
I do not.
Okay,
Commissioner, however.
Captain, can you bring to a light which aspect of this is the college tuition, I believe? Is that the nature of the Commissioner's question?
Well,
just on page 9.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm not sure if this is specifically related to college. Is college expenditures, or if it's? I think it might be expenditures. All the education. Is it just tuition?
Does it say what's Commissioner? My report is page 6 of 7 of Addenda B. You have an electronic version. If we could bring our attention to which page you're.
It's it's page 1 of it's page 1 of Addenda B.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, yes, the numbers are not equal. However, what I can say to that is that the opportunities are certainly made available to everyone throughout the department. And again, that's both sworn and civilian. I simply do not have an answer as to why we have less people applying, but what I can say is that we're certainly not denying the opportunity for training.
Like just to make sure that we're making sure that that the opportunities are being afforded to everyone, and it's widely publicized, so it's not
correct.
You know someone who's gotten it before, so you're applying. Make sure that the information is widely available, so we have as many applicants as possible.
Correct. And what I can say to that, Commissioner, is that there are approximately 8 commanding officers that are reviewing every single request for those training opportunities.
Commander Smith, do you have any thoughts on this?
All of the department training is advertised throughout the department. Everyone has equal opportunity to apply for any training that we have. Some of it is of the most critical training. Selections are made for that particular training, and that's done through OAS. But all of our training is completely open to everyone on the department, including the employee reimbursement for college tuition and things of that nature. So it's completely open to everyone. It's generally employee generated, meaning that once the advertisement goes out, it's up to each employee to generate their own interests, to apply, and to also make themselves available for the training when it comes.
Well, I mean, just coming from an educational institution as an educator, I think this data is instructive because generally mentorship is required in a lot of circumstances where individuals might be gateway individuals, meaning they come from families where they might have been the first high school graduate, first college graduate, and I know that the department does engage in a lot of mentorship, and so I'm sure from personal experience you know that certain officers need very active encouragement to pursue professional development opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise consider. I would just encourage the department to continue efforts in that area, in individual mentorship, individual encouragement.
Yes, Madam Commissioner. I'd also say, too, that these requests, while they are officer-generated, they are in part tied to the assignments that they're working. And so those divisions which have more specialized training are functioning in more specialized areas are going to require more training than others. So there are differences. But clearly those opportunities are being made aware and available to the employees and the subordinates of the commanding officers of those divisions.
And if I might add, the Commissioner Kim, your point is exactly on point, which is the development of our personnel is one that we need to advocate and identify those individuals that best represent our communities that we serve. And that is one of the responsibilities of supervision as well as command and staff officers. As we look at these applicant pools, we look frequently to opportunities to identify others that would best represent that diversity and challenge, as part of the evaluation process, our command and supervisors, their capabilities of doing such of a process. Lastly, these training opportunities that are listed here by ethnicity as to money spent are not representative of all the training opportunities that exist. The organization does with the FBI National Academy, the Sherman Block training, which is an extensive multi-month post-certified leadership course, among others, SMIP, Senior Management Institute for Police. Those are also opportunities the organization enjoys to ensure that we are, and one of the goals given to the chief and one of the department's efforts today strategically is provide for succession. And that is the development of the next generation of leaders in this organization, and to ensure that that generation that we're developing, again, reflects the wide diversity of this city. So thank you for identifying that.
Yeah, I think that, bottom line, it's about marketing and continuing to retool your marketing. If you see that a chart is off balance a little bit, then you can double down on your marketing to try and bring it back into balance. I think that's the message.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments on this item?
We do. We have Augustine Sabata and Wayne Spindler.
It's very interesting that you called out the number of what's the ethnic breakdown of these things that are being given out to the people, the officers and all that, because it's always been off balance. However, what's going on here, why is it that blacks, Mexicans are killed more than the average Anglo in the streets? We're in this question of supposedly internally we're this wonderful police department that's over helping everybody and everything, but yet why is it that if there's such good training as Michael Moore, the assistant chief of police, is claiming that we need to help these people out because it's a way of having our people become better police officers. I mean, maybe if he's talking about getting the police officers not to be trigger happy and stop killing blacks and Mexicans and Chicanos, then that would be good. But what he's saying is it just is one-sided, like everything else that you guys do here. It's one-sided, and it needs to be brought out more, so that the community will have understanding of what's really going on in this department. Like I mentioned earlier about the police department, the Hollenbeck Police Department has been known for torturing youth in the basement of the old building. And they also killed Jose Antonio Gutierrez in 1995, 6 shots in the back. And then they claimed he had a gun and that his fingerprints were on it. But on the handles, it was Chris Ross. It couldn't have been. It was put down just like thing with Jesse Romero. It's, why is it that they can get away with this about killing our youth at the same age? And Hollenbeck Division has that background of being more corrupt than most of the rest of them. We need to have, if Michael Moore is going to be here.
Next, please.
President, let me finish.
Spindler?
Let me finish my statement.
You're finished, sir? Thank you.
No, I'm not completely.
Okay, I'm going to ask you last warning, and then you can leave the room.
I'm leaving after this anyhow.
Okay,
Michael
so you can
Moore,
leave the room now.
need to
Thank
do
you,
something.
Mr. Spindler.
Bye, Mr. Soboroff, you're like a...
Spindler, come on up.
So, what you have to remember to put in the report is this great statement, which from around 2008 to 2015, plaintiff complained to his superiors of numerous unlawful acts by department employees, including inter alia, supervisors directing on-duty subordinate employees to perform non-LADWP.
Off topic, last warning, Mr. Spindler.
But this is the best part of the whole report. And I mean, I'm really surprised this lady and gentleman did not put the additional reporting requirements in this report revolving training. Because revolving training means something different here at LAPD than it does in the rest of the world. Revolving training means covering up criminal conduct of your fellow city employees. That's what it means. And it's in the report. And the new commissioner wants to know all about this. She's very interested. And the Johnson man wants to know about it. He's very interested in it. And I know these two people are just enthralled with learning about all of this. And that's what it's all about. Because every time I say the magic word, Findlay, everybody has a fit. I mean, it's like, jazz mechanics could be standing up here right now saying the same thing.
Mr. President, he's off topic again.
It's not. It's completely within the revolving training. The revolving training is the art of bullshit to cover up the crimes of these people and what they do. That's the revolving training. And you get a college degree online paid for by the goddamn taxpayers. So then when you walk in and give your lies, you can say, Lieutenant so-and-so, MS, BS, MSA, MBA. It's just putting a degree behind the bullshit deliverer. That's all. It's a bullshit delivery system.
Okay. We have no other comments on this item.
Do I have a motion to...
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
We're now on 4G, relative to the second quarter 2016 risk management and harm reduction strategy status report.
Is this different than the report that we have?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That is different than.
Okay.
It should be this.
It's just the.
It should be this.
It's an enhancer.
It's an abbreviated. The presentation is abbreviation.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the Commission. My name is Mike Himes. I serve as the Department Risk Manager. With me today is Captain Dominic Choi. He's the Commanding Officer of the Risk Management Division. Today, we want to just give you a brief update on our efforts to mitigate the organizational, physical, and financial harms associated with workplace conflict. If you recall, in December of 2015, we did a fairly extensive report in this area, and we just want to touch on some updates since that time. As you know, one of the central parts of our strategy is the installation or the implementation of risk management coordinators, throughout the department, to have eyes on at the local level. It
is actually a little low. Can you bring the microphone?
Certainly. Is this better?
Is his microphone on?
Yeah. Yes, it is. So in any event, we're at 16 risk management coordinators at this point in time, and the goal is we intend to have fully implemented risk managers throughout the geographic divisions and traffic divisions by the end of this year. Other than that, I want to go ahead and let Captain Choi talk about the workplace conflict issues. One of the things you'll notice on this report, if you haven't, is that it is more brief than our prior reports. In the future, our plan is to alter the presentations we make. So instead of being redundant and covering the same stuff each quarter, we want to focus on one quarter on our statistical analysis and trends, and then in the alternate quarters, focus on the progress of the implementations we have for some of our solutions to mitigate those harms. Captain Choi.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So I'll be talking about first the data and the trends, the current stuff. We compared the first 6 months of this year to the first 6 months of 2015. And then I'll be talking about our solutions, interventions, and the status of those. Okay, so our current trends with our grievances, you can see we had about a 46% reduction from 26 grievances in 2015 to 14 in 2016. With workplace investigations, these are internally generated complaints handled by Internal Affairs Group, workplace issues, employment issues such as retaliation, discrimination, those types of complaints. You can see there was a 23.8% reduction in the same time periods from 15 to 16. We also looked at claims filed. You can see that there was a 29% increase, but we looked at it a little more deeply. The 2016 number, the 22 claims filed, 2 incidents accounted for 10 employees. So one incident had 6 employees involved and one incident had 4 employees involved. So looking at it in that perspective, in 2015 we had actually 16 unique incidents, and then in 2016 we actually had 14 unique incidents. But regardless, we have more individual employees involved, so it's a concern and we need to act appropriately with that. And then employee lawsuits filed, these are new lawsuits filed. In the same time periods, we had a 35% reduction. And then lastly, with our data, we look at the money that we paid out. And 2015 versus 16, you can see at the bottom an overall reduction of about 14% in money paid out. One thing I want to emphasize about the money paid out, these are when cases get closed and it goes through the entire process. And so the behavior that has occurred in relation to these cases are several years old. We have some stuff going back to 2010.
So, I mean, that's probably just the nature of things going up and down as opposed to the benefits of our new process.
Absolutely. So we put it in there because it is of note and there's significant dollar amounts, but it doesn't actually describe the environment today.
Right.
I just wanted to point that out.
And if the number went up next year, it's not necessarily means that we're failing, or if it goes down, doesn't mean we're...
So you got a lag of 3 years or 4 years?
Yes, we're filtering through the system is what's going on. I think the more accurate gauge or measure of what's going on are our grievances, because they're what somebody's complaining about in the workplace today. The new claims about current activity, and the workplace investigation cases where they come in and say, okay, this is what's happening now.
Right.
So that's a better gauge, and that's why we put that up front. And then, so what are we doing about this? What are some of our interventions and solutions? Our key or primary solution is the Pepperdine University Conflict Resolution Training, and also Ombuds Section Outreach, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. But also our continued messaging. We're putting up flyers and messages on the computers at work, the local area networks. We're also sending out 3 messages daily to the computers in the police cars, the MDCs, or mobile digital computers. And the employee has to actually acknowledge each message for them to continue to use the computer. So I think it's sent out at 8 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, also 8 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock at night. And they're simple message like, respect for people, be kind to your neighbor, be safe, you want to get home safe, those types of things. So it's just keeping this risk management message in the minds of all employees all the time. And that's the theory behind that. And then we also continue to use our Liability Management Committee, which is an executive level management group that deals with complex workplace issues. It's really to get all the people that are involved in an incident or know information about an incident in the same room, so all the facts are on the table so we can make educated decisions on how to handle certain workplace issues. So one part of the organization is not doing something different than the other part of the organization with a particular workplace issue. We've been using this more and more, and I believe it's been effective. Okay, more specifics on our conflict resolution training. We've partnered with Pepperdine as well as the Police Foundation for funding. So far, we've had 3 classes, and we've trained approximately 130 students or supervisors during this time period. Our next class is going to be in October, and I believe it'll be at the Malibu campus. We've had a lot of good feedback. So after each class, we have focus groups. The professor meets with the students, and we've had very high ratings on the class. On a scale of 1 to 5, our average rating has been in the high 4.8, 4.9. It's a 4-day course.
4-day course.
Yes.
How many hours a day?
8 hours a day.
So are they staying out there? Are they commuting?
Well, they have the option to when it's at Malibu, but they also have a West LA campus that they stay at, that they teach at, and people don't stay there normally. So these are some of the comments that the students gave to the professor, some feedback, and this is just a small glimpse. I can say by and large the comments were very positive, that not only did we recognize that it's needed, but that they want it. So I think this is in the long term, the sustainability, continue funding, using the revolving training fund, those things, we can keep this going until all our supervisors are trained in this skill. And then the ombuds activity. 2 things of note here on this slide. You can see under the 2016 column, the 103 employees. This is the Managing Conflict in the Workplace training. So Ombuds developed a 2-hour training course that they're going, and it's consistent with our Pepperdine training because they went to the training as well. And they're going out and training supervisors and employees in different settings and providing this 2-hour course. And to date, they've trained 103, and they're going to continue to do so more and more. And then,
sorry, go ahead.
And then at the bottom there, you can see outreach events. Last year, they outreached to about 409 employees, and this year, same time period, about 1,050. So the emphasis is create the outreach and go to the employees that may not know about ombuds, may need it and don't want to come see them, but come to them and rather than sitting in office waiting for somebody to call ombuds. So that's the approach that I think will help build the trust and relationships with our employees in the Ombuds office so they're more utilized before they go to complaints or claims and lawsuits.
Right. So and both those figures are great. The one, I assume we're trying to push people towards mediations and conciliations?
Yes, prevention, and then we definitely would want to have that intervention ability, prior to any litigation.
What do you think is accounting for the decrease in the number of mediations and conciliations?
Sometimes what happens is instead of actually having to bring people together, they'll talk to the employee, and the employee will give them the tools to be able to deal with it themselves. That's a very strong skill to obtain, is to know how to approach either a subordinate or a supervisor or a peer that you're having problems with, give them the tools to be able to talk to them so they can resolve it themselves without having to result to having a third-party resolution.
And if something is unresolved in a mediation or conciliation, am I right that then becomes a claim?
It's up to the employee that is complaining. Yes, it doesn't automatically become a claim.
Well, only becomes if they want to continue to, if they're not if someone's not satisfied,
or if during a mediation or conciliation there's significant misconduct, then it actually goes to internal affairs. Then a complaint is generated.
I just want to track that to make sure that's not a trend that people are going right to claim as opposed to taking advantage of mediations and conciliations.
Well, I think that's definitely why we're pushing the outreach so people are aware of the service that's available, and we give them the short form of the training also. So,
Commissioner, the Executive Liability Management Committee, that's one of the strategies that in early intervention in this is to identify as a group. Is there a mediation, or is there a mediation effort here, or conciliation that we can work toward, short of it continuing to dissolve or deteriorate?
That's correct. It's not the only vehicle we have for mediation or interventions. So,
thank you.
Okay, and then moving forward, as far as our reporting, as mentioned a little bit earlier, what you can look forward to seeing is the first and third quarter reports. We are going to provide just the updates on our solutions and our interventions in all of the 4 areas that we're working on. And then the second quarter, or mid-year, and the fourth quarter, year-end, what you'll see is the data and the trends of how we've impacted those areas. It gives about a 6-month period in between these reports, in between the data, and then 6 months in between the solutions and trends. I'm sorry, the solutions and interventions. And what we're hoping to see is a more significant change. If we do it quarterly and it's on the same stuff, you won't see as a significant impact or change, I think, over time. So hopefully this can be more informative in this format.
Has the department set specific benchmarks or targets that we're looking to hit in these areas? Or is it we're just looking for general improvement?
No, we have not. Actually, part of our strategy is to try to steer away from setting a certain percentage without a basis for setting that percentage. So what we're looking for is just a trend in a proper direction. It's going to take some time to see if that's happening. Again, we want to look at the key indicators in each area of what's the most telling, like workplace conflict. We want to look at the complaints and the grievances, because that's what's happening now, not what's happening at the end of a lawsuit 4 years later.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Any other questions?
May I get a copy? Email.
The presentation?
This presentation.
Absolutely.
No other questions?
No.
Any comment on this item?
We have 3 comment cards. We have Tina McCrary, we have Wayne Spindler, and Ted Hayes.
Another incomplete report. You got to get your three main characters. The threat management unit, Eric Reedy, Hugo Rossiter, Vivian Swanigan. I don't hear those names here because you see, they have a threat management unit, the TMU. See, and this is all an outgrowth of that shit.
Mr. President, he's off topic.
Well, Thank you for pointing that out. Can you please get back on topic, sir?
You're getting all scared, Mr. T-Man. Now, you see, Patrick Finley's an example of the claims that get filed.
Off topic, Mr. President.
Because he didn't use...
Spindler, you had a warning.
He didn't use...
Have a seat.
He didn't use mediation, and he filed a claim. How the hell can that not be a topic?
You had your second warning. Who's our next
speaker? Speaker is Mr. Ted Hayes.
Mr. Hayes.
I filled out my entrance exam that it would be coherent, logical, and on topic. You cannot tell people they cannot be obscene, they cannot be vulgar, but you tell them they cannot be on topic.
That's right.
Only government can censor. Newspapers can't censor. Only government can do that.
Mr. Hayes, do you have a comment related to this topic?
We mean that you cannot say you're not on topic. We have 2 minutes to talk about what we think as a crazy person, as an obscene person, as an unorganized person, what we think.
Mr. Hayes, you're off
and
topic.
We don't have to be sane, reasonable, organized, or a literature essayist in order to do that.
Okay, Mr. Hayes, that's your last
by
warning.
Conflicting with this lousy 2 minutes. Let people do whatever they want to do or say here, and they're gone after 2 minutes. Okay. See, do you see
Hayes,
what we're doing
please
right
have a
now?
seat. Do we have any other speakers on this item?
We have no other speakers, sir.
Do I have a motion to approve
this
this item?
item?
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. We're now on item number 5, public comment period. We have
Thank you,
20,
guys.
20 comment cards. Approximately half are not here. So I'll call the ones that I believe are not present first. We have Jasmine Abdullah, Alejandro, Oscar, Michael Novik. You here? Okay. Juan Rivera, Kayutsumi, Tina McCrary, Jojo Smith, Melina Abdullah. Okay. Mr. Novik, you might begin.
Somebody commented earlier that they haven't had the experience of losing a child. So I want to let you know that I have. 9 years ago, my son was killed in a motorcycle accident, and I can tell you that the grief and the anger and the pain and sorrow are ongoing. And I come to these meetings, and it re-traumatizes me to be here and listen to some of these mothers talk about the deaths of their children. And I think you need to understand. I was in my wife and I were in 5 years in a grief support group. There was actually a police officer in one of the other families, and they were all white families. And we commented on the fact that white people think that the death of children is something extraordinary and unusual, but that for black people and brown people in this city and in this society, it is not. It's a constant, ongoing reality, and the responsibility for some of that is in your hands, and you have to grasp that and understand what people are saying. How many times have you said, warning, I'm giving you a warning, a warning? Do you know what that means? That's a threat, and people here take it as a threat. And every time you say, I'm warning you to stop speaking, you're out of order, you're out of topic, you're re-traumatizing people who are suffering pain and sorrow and grief and loss at the hands of people who claim to represent the people of the city of Los Angeles and to serve and protect them. And if you can't get that through your thick skulls, it's time for you to think about what you're doing in this commission. You have a responsibility to hold these people to account. Charlie Beck needs to go. He needs to go now because 3rd year in a row, LAPD is the most murderous police department in the country. And it's up to you to put a stop to that. And if you can't, then somebody has to replace you and put a stop to it now.
The next 4 speakers, Donald Brown. Is Donald Brown here? Prentice Jenkins, Patricia Whitson, and Audrey George.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I didn't come up here to disrespect you guys, and you guys, I feel that, are doing real good to put up with what you're putting up with and what you're listening to. Because I got sick back there listening to it. And I have stage 4 cancer. And this stuff, some of this stuff, some people have good things to say, but then they take it off somewhere else. But my main thing is that people in South Central do not hate LAPD. Not all people hate LAPD. You have a lot of good people there that are scared to come out and say things. And I think that a lot of the officers, when they're patrolling the areas, I wish a lot of you supervisors or Mr. Johnson, you guys tell them, get out and talk to some of the people. I mean, if it's safe, get out and say hi. If a guy breaks out running, let him run. If he's done something wrong or he got something, you're going to catch him down the line eventually. But the main thing, when I've been listening to this on TV, I hope you guys put up here for a second. I have stage 4 cancer in both lungs, my stomach, small intestines, and my liver. And I've been at home kicking back, but I've been in the community for over 45 years, dealing with kids, Locke High School, Washington, Jefferson, Fremont, teaching kids. And I've seen a lot of kids come up, and I've seen a lot of them die. And a lot of things that I wanted to say while it was still a lot of, I have to say, knuckleheads, that we have to be responsible for our own communities. And then like the Black Lives Matter, to me, all lives matter. And people are not coming to South Central. They come in here and there's a police shooting, which any shooting is bad. But when you have, over the weekend, 21, 23 people to get killed, 41 people shot, and there's not one protest. There's not one protest. And right now, you got kids that are school starting back, they're scared to go to school. Because you got knuckleheads that would, as soon as daylight comes, they're in front of the school and they have perfect attendance. They start there in the front at 8 and they don't leave till the last student leave to cause trouble. And I wish that a lot of these people had the chance to come up and say it a little bit earlier. And but like I said, we got to be responsible. And I wish, Mr. Johnson, you guys had some time just say it. We have to be, as black people, we have to be responsible. I've been in South Central and I've seen all this stuff. I've seen all this useless killing, but I don't ever see not one protest. Yeah. And then to me, I'm an enemy to a lot of the so-called black activists. Because when I see them on TV talking and saying, oh, yeah, this and that, we had a police shooting, which is still bad. Yep. But when you don't address that these kids are going to school getting robbed and beat up, and you don't address the situation. And I don't feel it's LAPD's problem to try and tame our community. You're to protect it. But parents have to start taking control of their houses, because there's, 9,000 police officers and 50,000 parents.
Yep. Thank you for coming down. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Prentice Jenkins, City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. We talk about repairing the gap between the Los Angeles Police Department and the community. Well, I've had some experience in that. I'm 57 now, but when I was 20, I used to work for a restaurant. And I won't tell you which restaurant because that's advertising. But anyway, we had police officers that would guard the place. And because most of the employees were black, of course, we were leery of the police officers. And then one day we all sat down for lunch, and the officer came over and said, "Can I sit down with you?" And we said, "Yeah, okay, yeah." It was an hour lunch after that. Before that hour was up, we were laughing and joking, right? And then he said, we have a basketball, league. You guys got a basketball league? I looked at all these black people around there and said, I figure we can get one going. Okay. And sure enough, we picked one up. We got out there. We drive out to the white suburbs, and sure enough, there we are. We're playing against the white cops. They were in their street clothes. And when we walked in the gym, there was a black guy who was doing he was putting the score, and he said, "Pigs versus nigs." And then when I walked in, everybody was, stiff. When I saw it on the board, I broke out laughing. And then everybody else broke out laughing. That broke the tension. We had a league for about maybe 2 months, and we were over at their house in the suburbs barbecuing and figured out, hey, they got the same problems we have. His wife's mad because he didn't remember her anniversary. My girlfriend's mad because I didn't remember her birthday. It actually happens. So when there's always people yelling, toe the line, right? But what you need to be yelling is, with your hands on the line, toe the line, right? So if I can help toe the line, I'm going to toe the line. I'm going to get the apple juice. I'm still going to give the vinegar, but I'm going to get the apple juice too, folks.
Thanks for the apple juice.
Patricia Whitson.
I must not to take up much time. I'm slow because of the stroke with my talking.
Take your
but
time.
I just had one situation. I have been subjected to a lot of victimization of being beat up. I'm almost 70 years old. They beat me up. I called the police, and they lied to the police and say that I was in a domestic relationship with the people. And the last incident, I was trying to get a van because my wheelchair don't fit in a regular car, and I met a man that was selling it at the Social Security office, but he tricked me and raped my daughter, and he knocked me down 3 flights of steps and broke my leg and my back. And I just want to say, when I called the the precinct, 77 precinct, or whatever that was, they said they were going to go out and arrest them, but the man lied to him and said I was his boyfriend. I'm old enough to be his great-grandmama. And they believed him. They didn't do it. Please, would y'all investigate? Because the man tried to manipulate me, rob me of my money, and I called the police, and they rushed me to Continental Hospital, where my blood pressure was 232 over 108. I almost died there, and they believe in what he said. Please, y'all help me, because I'm an elderly, and I'm being abused, and they taking advantage of me since my husband passed. We were married 43 years.
Ma'am, how long ago did that happen?
It just happened 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Okay, so Commander Malinowski will have an officer speak with you here,
Yes,
right
sir.
over here, and we'll
Yes,
ensure
sir.
that the investigation that was done, we'll review that, ensure that
Yes,
all appropriate
sir.
actions were taken.
Thank you so much, and I'm sorry y'all went through all this with everybody.
No worries.
Not all of us is terrible.
I know.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for coming
much
down.
for listening.
The next speaker, Audrey George, not present. Wayne Spindler. She's right there. Oh, Audrey George.
Hi. I just wanted, I hate that we meet in this room. Lovely room, but you're supposed to be a civilian oversight commission. It just seems so wrong that we're meeting at LAPD headquarters. Some of the things that you're investigating might be very difficult and come, result in rulings that are against police officers. It just seems like we should be meeting someplace else, and in the evenings. But since we're here, once again, I think we should pay honor to some of the platitudes that are on the walls. And I just want to address a couple of them. One of them, it's okay for you to show emotion. It's okay for you to react to so much pain in this room week after week. And doing so, that's part of the respect for the people that this wall is to remind you about. It's okay for you to start holding LAPD officers accountable for their unlawful use of force, their racialized policing, and the murders of black and brown folks who are shot down and shut down, denied a day in court, sometimes killed only because they fit a suspect profile. Almost none of these police shootings would happen if those victims were white. I think that should be pretty commonly acknowledged. This would show that you truly have a reverence for the law, as it says on the wall. It's okay for you. It's time for you to embody the call for you to show integrity in all you say and do, and admit that this commission truly doesn't provide community-based, accountability-driven, and civilian-led oversight of the LAPD. Please stop the LAPD from acting as judge, jury, and executioner.
Thank you for your comments.
Wayne Spindler, followed by Dylan Kidd, Damon Daniel.
So I'll note for every one of my cards, I never referred to my name. I used an anonymous surname, and you violated the Brown Act at least 15 times in this meeting, which you don't care about. But let's talk about our good friend Patrick Finley versus the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. BC 629478. Jasmine Canick, Jasmine Online. Listen to what this lovely man had to go through. From in or around 2008 to 2015, plaintiff complained to his superiors of numerous unlawful acts by department employees, including supervisors directing on-duty subordinate employees to perform non-LADWP-related tasks for the personal benefit of these supervisors, utilizing LADWP resources for personal use, performing non-work-related activities on department time, using a department vehicle for personal business, and completing a false police report after the department removed the vehicle from a casino parking lot, stating that the vehicle was stolen from the offending employee's home. Repeatedly leaving work, doing work hours for extended periods of time, and falsifying department records, including timesheets, committing burglary of another appropriate disciplinary action to the burglary incident, and on it goes. And this man got fired when he brought this up to his superiors, a former 30-year decorated LAPD veteran who was the head of the security for LADWP, fired without cause, justification, or notice. Why? Because he took it to his superiors. And you know what the union said? One of their guys called him a pain in the ass. We need a lot more pain in the asses. So you're going to pay this guy. Thank you, Mr. Finley and Jasmine Canick.
The next three speakers, Ted Hayes, Chaplain Jonathan Barnes, and Samantha Husbands.
Every time I get arrested and go to jail, I always end up in the hospital. Always end up in the hospital. But the unusual thing about it is when we do the paper trail, the jail says I was never there. And the reason is because I go in there and I know some things. First of all, I know that you have a right to make 3 phone calls. I know that one of these phone calls read like this. This is the law, 851.5. You have a right to make a call to an attorney of his choice, or if he or she has funds, no funds, the public offender or another attorney assigned by the court. This telephone call shall not be monitored or eavesdropped upon or recorded. But you won't find that posted at the jail. Right, Mr. Inspector General? Right, Captain Moore? It's not there, right?
It is.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Would you base your reputation on it? I doubt it. But anyway, so I reported the fact that it wasn't there. And every time we go back there, it's not posted. But LAPD does post something saying, we have a right to monitor and tape record your phone calls. And simply by picking up the receiver, you relinquish your right not to have your call recorded or tape recorded. So that's the LAPD by the hundreds of thousands of people whose rights, due process rights, are violated. Any decent assembly of trial attorneys should deal with this. But right now it's just me and Chief Moore. Have you been at, and you looked up and you saw that?
Yes, sir.
The thing about the attorneys?
Yes, sir. Directly on your inquiries years ago, sir, and I assure you that the proper signage is there. The signage was added to, and so I know I'm not supposed to respond back to you, but this has been a persistent issue with you for years, and the department has investigated and has all proper signage up there, I assure you. And I apologize you have not seen it.
Recently. Okay, well, the thing
thank
is
you for your
staff,
comments, Mr. Hayes.
Your staff, so you can talk back to me. They can't.
Okay. Mr. Hayes, thank you for your
Thank
comments.
you for telling me.
Do we have any more comments?
We have Chaplain James Barnes.
Great. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon now compared to
It was the morning earlier.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to continue stating that,
Thanks for staying, by the way.
Oh, surely. Well, I thank God that I've been blessed with the opportunity to be here. It's not an if, it's just a when. That if we are not proactive but reactive, these actions that you see here will unfold in the streets. It's just, the Holy Spirit revealed to me what happened in Dallas, not saying particularly in Dallas, but I saw that coming, as well as what we saw in Baton Rouge. I notified individuals of that. I said it was going to be veterans. I work with veterans as well. So that was just revealed to me. So, it's my responsibility to then notify you all ahead of time. Also, with my experience of working with veterans, I strongly suggest that you all start to mandate, if you don't have frequent PTSD screenings of your officers. I mean, they go through traumatizing experiences. As I made mention earlier, I was street active for 13 years, and the Los Angeles Police Department, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department had me labeled as a menace to society in the 1990s. So it's based on actions like myself that has led to these traumas placed upon your officers. It's based on actions like myself to where a number of your officers still stereotype individuals based on, I'm speaking of just on my true actions. Not to say it's all your fault, because it's not. It's individuals' my fault that these individual children are being labeled on them looking like someone like myself. So a resolution with that, again, I would suggest that you all find those that can assist you with rebuilding the image and having an understanding of those in the community and start to bridge that gap so that then the children of today won't be viewed as individuals like myself. And you all will be able to better this community as well as better your positions. I thank you all for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much.
There are no other comment cards on public comment. We do now on item number 6, closed session. We do have a comment card for 6A1 and 6A2, and both cards are from Mr. Spindler. This is relative to 6A1, Mr. Spindler.
The pig will address.
Thank you very much. Now we get to the piggy part of this thing. A law enforcement related injury called a Larry. So remember, if you get a Larry, call Larry Parker, because you are injured. A Larry is a Larry Parker. So, are you giving these things? The initials are not being spelled out for the general populace. Every one of my speaker cards was filled with Pepita Pig, but you keep calling the real name in violation of the Brown Act. Now, who is M. Gonzalez? Is he the Sergeant 1? Is he the 4 police officer 1s? How did M. Gonzalez get hurt in a law enforcement-related injury known as a Larry? We have all these names, Larry, OIS, and Larry. So we want to know, how was this involved? Is M. Gonzalez a police department employee? Or is he a victim of the public? And has Mr. Larry filed an action in court for Larry Parker? Larry Parker got me $2.1 million. You remember that commercial? So you need on your agenda, first, who's Gonzalez? Second, is he or is he not, or her, an employee of the department? Number 3, is this a claim in Superior Court? Because that would be a public record, Steve. And then all of us pigs could go over there and look at that, the Superior Court. So incomplete agenda equals malfeasance under the Brown Act.
6A2, Mr. Spindler.
So now we get to De Granados, officer involved shooting 2 detectives. What does that mean, people? What does it mean when 2 detectives are involved in a shooting? That means what? Anybody? Nobody here knows? It means it was a fucked up surveillance. See, what happens is you have 2, because you always have to have a partner and the principal looking at the target, monitoring the target. Monitoring means not shooting the fucking target. It means collecting data, following and observing and reporting to the superiors upstairs on the 10th floor. But instead, somebody fucked up. And you know how this happens? Thank you, the piggy left. Now, how does this happen? Because somebody gets sloppy. So let's say it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you have a cup of coffee, you pour it on your pants, and then the guy goes, ah, and then the target realizes he's being followed, runs, and the next thing you know, the cops shoot him in the back. That's what happens, right, Mr. T-Fang? If this was a proper detective situation and you had two, the only thing would have happened was a surveillance report and detection report filed with the 10th floor, right? Of course! That's why he's grabbing his tie, because you see, pigs like me, we understand these things. How do we know? How can a pig know all of these? Because I'm a genetically altered pig. Thank you, everybody. Finally, Steve, resign. You do not belong here. Thank you.
There are no other public comment cards. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item number 6A1 and 2 in accordance with Government Code 54957. The Board of Police Commissioners has concluded its work in closed session. We are back in open session. In closed session, item number 6A1 was discussed and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. In closed session, item number 6A2 was discussed and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. Mr. President, is there a motion to adjourn?
We have a motion. So moved. We have a second. All in favor? We are closed.
Thank you.
Okay, good job, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jen Mahoney in Studio City. You're watching LA City View Channel 35, where you can get the best in culture and arts. It's our city, it's our channel.
Hey, just go!
Welcome to Connie Martinson